Before we start the meeting, you'll notice that we have
Just stand by, Your Worship, please. We're just going live now, and we are live. Go ahead, please.
Member of Parliament Sean Casey. I believe we have Dr. Patricia McCarney, is it? You there, Dr. Patricia?
I am.
Okay, and who else do I have with the WCCD? Is it James Padova?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yes, right here. Nice to see you, Mr. Mayor.
So James Patafa?
Yes, exactly.
And anyone else there, Catherine, that we should recognize? Dr. Patricia, anyone else we should recognize?
No, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Okay. So, Council, on behalf of myself and Council, I would like to welcome the World Council on City Data, WCCD, WCCD President and CEO, Dr. Patricia McCarney, as well as Mr. Sean Case, the MP for Charlottetown. And we have James Patava, I believe, who also is with WCCD. MP Sean Casey is representing the Minister responsible of Infrastructure and Communities, the Honourable Catherine McKenna. The City of Charlottetown is thrilled to receive the WCCD ISO 37120 Platinum certification, joining a select group of 100 cities in a global network of municipalities who have committed to working or to reporting accurate data. COVID-19 has underlined the importance of making decisions based on data and accurate facts. With the world as unpredictable as it is, this certification will allow us to harness standardized, globally comparable, and independently verified municipal data to address global challenges. By committing to evidence-based and data-driven decision-making, we reaffirm our commitment to making Charlottetown a more sustainable, smart, resilient, and inclusive city for all residents. So without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Dr. Patricia McCarney, who will give us an overview of some exciting data points from the first year of data collection. Dr. Patricia?
Thank you very, very much, Mayor Brown. I hope you can hear me all right. And we're going to just share a presentation with you for a few minutes. But first of all, Mayor Brown, council members, thank you very much for this kind introduction. Can you hear me okay? Is there a bit of an echo going on?
If no one, if you're not speaking, just mute your mic, please, and I'll do the same.
I hope that sometimes I have an echo on various platforms, but that sounds better now. Okay. So, Mayor Brown, council members, thank you for the kind introduction. It's truly a pleasure to present the WCCD ISO 37120 certification to you. So I'm Patricia, and my colleague James is here with us this afternoon for this presentation. I do, of course, wish we could be there with you in person this afternoon, but I trust that there's better times lying ahead soon to visit again the lovely city of Charlottetown. We had a really wonderful visit the first time when we were just starting this process with you. So to begin, I want to congratulate you on your WCCD ISO 37120 Platinum certification. This is really a true demonstration of your city's dedication to building high caliber data. It informs planning and management across the city and drives us more sustainable prosperity into the future. This global standard is a global first. What this means is that municipalities across the globe are equipped with apples to apples data. For the first time, cities of all sizes can compare progress and learn from each other and be part of a global community of data-driven cities committed to both local and global progress for more sustainable, smarter, and more resilient cities. So with this certification today, Charlottetown is actually joining a global network of data-conscious cities from Los Angeles to Buenos Aires to London, Dubai, as well as many small and medium-sized urban communities, for example, in the Netherlands and other parts of Europe, in Iceland, and in Asia and Africa, plus another 30 Canadian cities a little closer to home here, with Quebec City, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Selkirk, County of Brant, and again, even a little closer to home for all of you on the East Coast, St. John's, Mount Pearl, and Corner Brook, to name just a few. So if we could move to the next slide, please, James. So the city of Charlottetown is one of the 15 Canadian cities and communities that are part of the Data for Canadian Cities project, which is supported by the Federal Ministry of Infrastructure and Communities. Minister Catherine McKenna has sent greetings to all of you and is represented here today by the Member of Parliament, Sean Casey. And MP Sean Casey was elected to the House of Commons in Canada in 2011 as the Liberal Member of Parliament for Charlottetown, and then re-elected again in 2015 and 2019. So I would like to now invite MP Sean Casey to offer some opening remarks and words of congratulations to the city of Charlottetown on behalf of Minister Catherine McKenna. MP Sean Casey, over to you.
Oh, thank you kindly. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you, Your Worship, and the members of council, and Chief Smith. This is indeed a special occasion. The pilot project that you just heard about was thanks to a $3 million investment from the Government of Canada to allow for municipalities to better plan and implement their investments in public infrastructure. All communities, large and small, need good data in order to become more resilient. And right across the country, the federal government is working closely with municipalities, partners, and stakeholders to get projects built quickly, projects that make a positive difference in the lives of Canadians. I want to personalize this a bit, folks. It really is a big deal that you have seen the value in evidence-based decision making, and whether we're talking about infrastructure projects or whether we're talking about any decision that's being made at the municipal level, it's so important that these things be based on evidence and not ideology. We need only look at the response to the COVID pandemic to see the value in evidence-based decision making when you compare the state that we are in this country compared to some others. But there's one thing that I learned before getting into politics during my time in business and in law is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And you now have the platinum standard of measurement. It should make you immensely more effective and will serve the citizens of this fair city well. Another thing that I learned during my time in business is how very, very difficult it is to go through the process of getting an ISO certification. So to all of you here on council, I want you to look at your administrative team that were behind getting you to this step and give them a nod, give them a tip of the hat. This is not an easy thing to accomplish. You have accomplished it. You've undoubtedly accomplished it because of the dedication of some people that are there to support you. They are to be congratulated. The city is better for it, and congratulations to you on reaching this certification. It's an honor for me to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Sean Casey, for those kind words. We know how hard it is, and you're right. The dedication of the city of Charlottetown to this effort has just been stellar. And we're going to move to a rather exciting part of the project to actually show you some of the data highlights that have resulted from this, which are in this context of global comparability. So first, a little bit of background on the project and the standard itself. So over to you, James, please.
Sure. Thank you, Patricia. Just to give you a bit of background, both the World Council on City Data and, of course, the Data for Canadian Cities pilot project, the WCCD is globally operationalizing what Patricia mentioned is the first international standard for indicators for city, fully numeric indicators. We're working in 100 cities across 35 countries, and as Patricia mentioned, this is truly a data-driven global network. The standard itself consists of 104, again, fully numeric indicators across 19 themes, All of these themes were in fact chosen by and decided by cities around the world to measure city services and show the impact on quality of life for residents as well. As Patricia also mentioned, Charlottetown is receiving the Platinum certification, which means that your city has reported over 90 of the 104 indicators. What this really means is that this is the truly, exceptional standard that shows that your data is of the highest caliber, and of course that global comparability piece as well. So it's a very, very auspicious accomplishment, and again, congratulations to you on that. Beyond ISO 37120, one of the other things we're doing as well is we're also helping cities to adopt two new standards around smart cities and resilient cities. The resilience piece, of course, becomes particularly important as cities across the world look to building back better from COVID. And we now, for Charlottetown is now also able to pursue this certification if it is of interest to the city as well. Now, as both Patricia and MP Casey mentioned, the Data for Canadian Cities project is a truly transformative countrywide initiative that's happening. It's a 3-year project. Charlottetown is now in the second year of this 3-year. While the first year was mostly about collecting the data, where the really exciting piece comes to play now is actually starting to put the data to use in year 2. As we move forward, of course, one of the other exciting things too is you'll start to see trends developing in year 3 and beyond. Many cities within our network are now 5-6 years of reporting, and it really is in that longevity of reporting that you start to see some of the really interesting movements across varying indicators. Before I turn it back over to Patricia, who's going to share some of the data with you, just to summarize, what this is being used for. I mean, it's helping to create data-driven municipalities worldwide, in Canada, of course, as well. It's also helping to inform and direct federal spending with regards to infrastructure and showcasing the impact of that spend to communities across the country. There's a really important economic development aspect to this as well. It's also allowing cities to look at their progress on the climate agenda and, of course, also look at global goals like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals at the local level. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Patricia, who's just going to give you a short preview of some of this really exciting data. But once again, my heartiest congratulations and thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you very much, James. Now I just want to turn to a couple of the data points because this is really a celebration of incredible data on the part of the city of Charlottetown, but also incredible performance in terms of comparability to other world cities and to showcase how truly livable the city of Charlottetown is. So I want to first turn to this population snapshot, which also shows a really nice sustainable trajectory of urban growth in the city. It shows a really nice and stable population growth as well as in line with your density, which is a sustainability planning reflection on your planners. Next slide, please, James. And I also wanted to look at the sustainable future. Some of the data points to a really incredible group of indicators where Charlottetown is leading. So just a few on this. The first one is around your air quality. This really shows the level of NO2 concentrations. You're one of the lowest in Canada and in the world, which is really outstanding. When we were looking around at celebratory data points, this one really stood out. And the next one, James, is also around sustainability, where we witness a truly responsible stewardship of your resources. And this has to do with the indicator called final energy consumption of public buildings. And again, Charlottetown is really outperforming many cities throughout the world. And the next, we also looked at economic vibrancy and tracked some of the economic indicators as well. So here's a few. This one, the number of businesses in Charlottetown, this is normalized per 100,000 population, which means that Charlottetown is really a very healthy economic and vibrant community. The number of businesses, when you see them relative to cities like Oslo or Edmonton and others, Charlottetown is really head and shoulders above many cities throughout the world. This was one that really stood out on the visualization portal for us when we were looking at Charlottetown's data. And then the next one, just a few more. As you, of course, know, the number of visitor stays, overnight visitor stays, again, normalized by per 100,000 population. This showcases a true dedication to your natural and cultural heritage on the island and in Charlottetown in particular. And finally, I think this might be one of the last ones, number of higher ed degrees. This really is an incredible indicator for Canada. I wanted to point out that the red bars are all Canadian cities. So on the global stage, Canadian cities show a really incredible educated population, which goes to building economic development and a more sustainable prosperity into the future. But if you look at Charlottetown's number in particular, it's really a world leader. And we know that economic development offices across the world are starting to look at some of these indicators to help to drive economic development and attractiveness. The next slide, James. And so now I would like to turn to what I believe is really an important part of today's, and to close with this. This is really the highest level, as James mentioned. Platinum certification is the highest you can get at ISO, and it does reflect on truly hard work by all of your team. So it's my pleasure to now award the City of Charlottetown with WCCD's ISO 37120 Platinum certification, the highest level of certification possible. And I want to personally congratulate Mayor Brown and his dedicated staff led by your CAO, Peter Kelly. Peter Kelly has been extremely helpful and really supportive of this work. If it weren't for him and his incredible team, starting with the work of Ronnie McPhee and then followed now by one of your newest staff members, Doug Dumayas, who's such a pleasure to work with, I must say. Peter, your team, and Mayor Brown, all of your dedicated staff have made this possible. Charlottetown, in fact, reported 93 out of 104 ISO 37120 indicators. This is a really exceptional achievement. Charlottetown has showcased a commitment to a data-driven future for its citizens and innovative leadership in local governance. So on behalf of the WCCD, I would like to congratulate the dedication of Mayor Brown, the council, and all city staff to open, standardized, and comparable city data. This standardized data will help to increase the quality of life for all your citizens while driving evidence-based decision-making and data-driven solutions for the city of Charlottetown. The city stands out in Canada and globally as a leader in working to create a more sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and prosperous future for your residents. So, in closing, congratulations once again on this ISO Platinum certification, and I wish you all a great afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia. And I do have the official copy that Doug passed on to me. So you have a digital copy. We have the real copy here at City Hall. And as you said, as you said, Doctor, I want to thank Mr. Kelly, the staff, also Ronnie McPhee, who was our former community liaison officer, has moved on, but he started working with the team, and it's been followed up by Doug Dumay, and I know Doug is quite excited by the information that is coming in from all this data-driven work you're doing through WCCD.
Thank you.
Do you want to take a question or two, or is that?
Of course. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to do so.
Any councillors that would like to ask a question to Dr. Patricia?
Yeah, I will.
Yes, go ahead.
And I'm assuming that one of the reasons we got this information was to be able to compare a lot of data with a lot of the municipalities, and it will help us with setting up our budget. So I'm assuming all that information will be in this package that's with the city.
That's correct.
Okay, and we have that now?
Yes, I think Doug has full access to all of it, and the workbook and all of the download is available from the last year's workbook for him.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Not at all. It'll be a pleasure to work with you and maybe putting this data to use in this next phase of the infrastructure project with the ministry. That's part of our mandate, is to really work with you and Doug and the team in Charlottetown to start to really put it to use in interesting ways, and thinking about your strategic plan going forward, etc. We're here to help in any way we can.
So I'm assuming, Patricia, that like, for example, it'll give us an idea of sport fields per population, possibly street lights per population, and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah,
Perfect.
it's all
Perfect.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Patricia, just in the follow-up, the data is comparable to the 100 cities. Any cities that would be in the 40,000 range that we're looking at in this?
That's right. That's right. The data is all being reported in conformity with ISO 37120 definitions and methodologies across the 104 indicators. So we're in 35 countries now, and all these cities are for the first time having apples to apples data. So yes, it's all there, and on the visualization portal, the city of Charlottetown can log on and look at data in comparative peer groupings by population size, or by climate type, or by GDP per capita, or by region, Canadian, North American, Europe, for example. So it's all there. It's all set up for you, and we would be happy to work with you on offering a demo of that visualization portal as well, and how to use it in the future.
I appreciate the data on the population increase. I know from 2005 to 2019, our population has grown by 24% here in Charlottetown. So that data
That's incredible, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And we'll get more data next year in February of 2021.
Right. Yes, the beauty of this ISO 37120 certification this year is that you have a 2019 baseline now across all these KPIs. So you can actually start to track year over year over year, and benchmark progress on your own, just on population, of course, and density and green space and bike paths, etc. over the years. We know that Boston, for example, the mayor of Boston's term aligns exactly with their baseline of the past 4 years. And he's already looking at that year over year change in mobility patterns, for example, under his leadership and other indicators. So it's really nice to have that trend analysis kicking in with this baseline from 2019.
Okay. Any other questions from the councillors? Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Patricia, James, Itava, and I think
Pleasure.
That Sean Casey, if he's still there, thank you for representing the Minister of Infrastructure Canada, Catherine McKenna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas. Stay safe.
Take care. Yeah. Happy 2021 start. A good year to get behind us.
Yes, for sure.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Okay. So we can move on with the agenda. Actually declarations of conflict of interest. I'm the first one to declare declare a conflict of interest because on the Sherwood Road proposal from Arsenault Brothers, my lovely daughter Emma Louise is a partner with one of the staff at Arsenault Brothers, so I will not be partaking in the debate or discussion. That'll be up to the deputy to take over the meeting. Any other declarations of interest, conflict of interest?
Yes, Your Worship, I'll be declaring a conflict as well with the same Sherwood crossing, or the Sherwood Road one there with Arsenault Brothers. I have a young fellow that works for them.
Okay, so that's two of us. Anyone else on declarations of conflict of interest? Okay. So under the agenda, just before, I have a request from Economic Development, if we can move that to the start. Some of the staff will not be around for the whole meeting, so is it all right to move that report, Councillor McLeod, to 6.1 and then just move it down following that?
Yes, and just to clarify a little more, Your Worship, staff are doing the Wintertide Holiday Festival Home Decorating Contest judging this evening, so that's why the quicker we can get them out, the better. And glad just the opportunity to sent Chair McCabe at this. So, want me just to go right on now, or you want to?
Nope. Any other approval, any other agenda issues?
Your worship.
Councillor? Yes.
I have one, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor first, and then Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to put a resolution on the floor that we look to postpone the meeting schedule for tomorrow night regarding the reconsideration of 18 Trainer Street.
Okay, so we have to vote on that. Any follow-up on that from anyone?
I'll speak to that, Your Worship. I really don't understand. I refer to procedure bylaw that we all have voted on and approved. 20.1 states, notwithstanding section 19 of this bylaw, the council shall not vote on a motion arising out of an item added to the agenda by a member until a staff report and recommendation is received from the appropriate standing committee. The standing committee for this issue would be planning, and there is no report from planning, staff of planning, and of course I don't have a recommendation from them also.
Yeah, Councillor Duffy, I spoke to Mr. Kelly about that issue. This matter of the reconsideration didn't go through the standing committee, it went through council. And as you know, the public meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow.
Yes.
I was told about it just when in conversation with Mr. Kelly. I should have been watching or looking closely in the Guardian, but again, this is a matter that's out of planning. It's more of a council reconsideration. And in terms of looking at the procedural bylaw, there are areas to add items to the agenda. And I know in previous council meetings, I remember one in particular, the spring of 2019 regarding the floating dock. The item was added to the agenda when I was in this room, Parkdale room, presenting calendars to the West Royalty students, West Royalty school students. And I do recall asking that, now there was no recommendation that came from Parks and Recreation in the package, but if I recall correctly, I did ask the lawyer and they said, no, you can add it to the agenda. So it was added. Again, there seems to be a little misunderstanding of what can be added and what cannot be added.
So I have Karen Campbell here. Your Worship, I have Karen Campbell here to respond. Sorry, Your Worship.
Clear.
Just one second.
Standing committee, and it's a late item to the agenda. I mean, it couldn't be any clearer to anyone. It says recommendation received from a.
I think the lawyer's there to speak on it, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Councillor Duffy,
Yes.
just finish what you want to say.
Yeah, I say it couldn't be any clearer when we're talking council versus committee, because it's council is only referred to in the second line where we're talking about the council shall not vote. The standing committee is the one in expressing the driver's seat. Council's not mentioned at all other than that top reference there. But I will listen to the lawyer. Your Worship, that's it for me.
Legal counsel.
So, Your Worship, I'll put Karen on just to go over an overview, and then we can take it from there. You should have come here closer, Karen.
Good evening, everyone. So,
can you hear, Your Worship?
Yes.
I think everyone can hear.
Go ahead.
so Mr. Kelly had contacted us today and asked us to take a look at the question of whether or not 20.1 of the procedural bylaw could be waived or in some way, shape, or form not followed with regard to this motion coming forward. And the difficulty with this bylaw, not the difficulty, but the fact of the matter of the bylaw is that there is a provision to add late agenda items. However, the language of 20.1 refers back to that late additions to the agenda article in section 19, and it says notwithstanding section 19, and then it goes on to create what we would call a necessary precondition to being able to add something late to the agenda, which is going back to get a staff report and a recommendation received from the appropriate standing committee. We also looked at Robert's Rules of Order to see if there was a mechanism to alleviate the necessity for this before a late motion could come forward. And under Robert's Rules, it would seem to suggest that where you have a bylaw which states in a mandatory way that there is a precondition, and it doesn't give council the authority to alleviate itself from that condition, that council cannot do that. And so the way the bylaw is written, it does appear to us that it would have to go through the staff and the line committee in order to come forward, even as a late agenda item.
You have to unmute, Your Worship.
Karen, up to this point, I know you've been at some of the meetings where items were added to the agenda when the meeting was just starting up, and it was allowed to happen. And it took, and the reference I made there for the spring of 2019 regarding the floating docks, I know that came to the floor, and I think you were president. And I said, well, wait now, it requires a recommendation from the committee, but we proceeded to vote on it anyways. I just think that it works and it doesn't work. So I would like to keep the change. We can vote on the change for the agenda if you want to support adding it. Great. If you don't, just vote against it.
But it's not supposed to go to a vote, Your Worship. It's right. It's just her. We called for the solicitor to give her opinion. We have it, and now we're going to go contrary to what she suggests.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out late additions to the agenda, section 19. We might as well take section 19 out and just leave 20.
Well, I think Your Worship, we used to vote on it, didn't we?
We're going to vote on the agenda.
Yeah, so I think we used to vote whether a late addition was allowed on or not.
Correct.
Even though we have further clarification from Karen, I guess we know where we're going to go from here.
So in this case, Your Worship, based upon legal opinion, it appears that to put that motion on the floor would be out of order, Your Worship.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Your Worship, I have no problem with putting the item on the agenda. It's the fact that you're going to call for a vote, and that's where the problem is, because it says right in it, shall not vote on a motion arising out of an item added to the agenda. That's very clear.
Yeah, but we've done it in the past, Councillor.
If you made mistakes in the past, that doesn't mean you're good to go forever and ever. I can't help that. I'm just saying that this is very clear.
I understand that, but as I said, precedent has already been set on this.
No, it's an error. You can't live with the error for the rest of your life.
Well, I'm glad we caught up to it now, but again, precedent has been set, and we can add it to the agenda and discuss it, or the choice is of council. If council doesn't want to do that, will not. The deputy mayor does have a resolution, or does have a request, so he needs someone to second that, to add it to the agenda, I assume.
Karen would like to clarify a further point, Your Worship, if you could. Great.
Well, it just, in terms of, like, it would be open, for example, for council to say that it could alleviate itself from a procedural requirement in the bylaw under Robert's Rules of Order. It would be open for council to put that in the bylaw, Your Worship, but as we review the bylaw, that isn't there, and Article 20.1 or Section 20.1 of the bylaw is drafted in affirmative terms, in mandatory terms. It uses the word shall, and so I don't have a specific recollection of being asked to opine on this issue before, but we did, with the benefit of having the day to take a look at it, did look to see if there was a way under Robert's Rules, which is likely what was relied on before, to do that. See if the bylaw could be not followed. But our view is, with the language, and even with the interpretation of Robert's Rules, where it would allow you if it was just a rule of order that council had adopted. But in Robert's Rules, it does create the exception for a bylaw, because it says where you reduce a procedural matter to a bylaw, that is a strong indicator that you are not to be able to alleviate yourself from whatever the requirement in the bylaw is. So with the benefit of that time to reflect and research on this matter, this is where we have come down to in terms of our opinion.
So, Deputy Mayor, you've made a request to add it to the agenda.
Yes.
So, can we add it to the agenda?
So you have to determine, based upon what Karen said, Your Worship, for what basis is it being added. If it's being added to refer to the committee for comment, that can be done. But if it's intent to do anything else other than that, it may not be in order to do so, Your Worship.
So, Councillor Deputy Mayor Cody, do you want to add anything to it?
Well, it's regarding a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night, 24 hours from now. So it's probably not going to have time to go through the planning committee. I mean, a week ago we were going to a public meeting, an in-person public meeting, and then of course COVID hit, which none of us can control. But I think at the end of the day, the residents on Traynor Street were expecting a face-to-face meeting. And I feel that's what they deserve. So that's why I put the motion on the floor to see if we can defer this thing until, the Chief Public Health Office gives us the authority to meet in person again. That's all.
Can I speak?
Mr. Doppy?
It's going to be an electronic meeting. Like, we've already had 5 public meetings since the middle of March when the pandemic hit. We've covered 17 cases with them. This case is no different. I mean, why all of a sudden, because there's a reduction in the crowd there, everybody can still talk tomorrow night. Our staff is set up to shuttle them in, shuttle them out, organize them. No one will go home without having had the opportunity to speak. It's all about, I don't know what it's all about, but I'm just saying, the face-to-face is no different than we are offering tomorrow night. It's just that there's going to be less inside the building at a time. That's the only thing.
And
I mean, there's good points to be made tomorrow night. Those good points will be made regardless of how big the audience is at one time in the building.
And if I could, Your Worship, just to add to the discussion, under the recent amendments to the MJ, Section 122, it had broadened the scope to allow these kinds of meetings to take place. So that is a refresher there as well.
Yeah, that's why we're having this meeting. It's an electronic meeting. Councillor Rivard?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to touch on Councillor Cody's request and hearing. So if indeed the request is added to the agenda, it would be to go back to the committee for feedback. If council approved of that, then we wouldn't be able to have the public meeting tomorrow night anyways until we heard. So it would be technically delayed by default until the committee were to render a recommendation, if you will. Correct? I'm just out there. That's what I'm hearing.
Point well taken.
Yes or no? I don't know.
I would have the solicitor to respond to that, Your Worship, if I could. Karen?
Who?
Karen Campbell, Your Worship.
So if you're going to, I don't think that you can de facto delay the meeting. You would have to make a decision to delay the meeting, and it might be that you made the decision because you were going to, move this matter back to staff and then through committee, but I don't think that you can say if you allowed the motion to go forward and then sent the matter back, that would in and of itself delay the meeting for tomorrow. I don't actually think that would be how it would work.
Okay.
So I have a question, Worship.
Go ahead, Councillor Bernard.
It's a question for Karen. I'll put it through you. I'm just wondering now that it sounds like what Karen is saying is, I guess, adding this to the agenda, it sounds to me like it's illegal or it's ruled out of order. So I just wonder if we were to have the meeting delayed, can any of that information be used? Because apparently this is we're told from our legal counsel, this is being ruled out of order. So that's one question I have. The other one was, I thought in the past, anytime something was added to the agenda, it needed full consent of council. So everyone would vote what they wanted to the agenda.
Special meetings only require unanimous. This is a regular monthly meeting. It's majority.
Okay.
Do you want to answer that question, legal counsel Karen Campbell?
So just to clarify for Karen, Councillor Bernard, would you mind clarifying what it is you want to ask her?
Yeah, so if what I got from what Karen said was to put this on the agenda tonight, it's out of order. It doesn't allow it under the MGA. If we were to go ahead and do it anyway, which we probably shouldn't, but if we did, does that mean that the information coming from the meeting down the road, if it was the IRAC or whatever, that all that information is ruled out of order because the meeting should never happen in the first place?
Well, I think what it does do is it opens up the argument that the delay of the that the meeting would have been delayed improperly. I can't say what IRAC necessarily would do with it, but obviously when we give our opinions to council, it's always with a view to trying to protect the integrity of the processes that council has. And we think that proceeding on this basis would not be in accordance with the statute that you have, with the bylaw and Robert's rules, and it potentially gives rise to the argument that there is an irregularity in your procedure, which of course typically we'd like to avoid.
Councillor Rivera, did you raise your hand there?
I think you could vote on just the matter itself, because you're not allowed to vote according to this 20.1.
Yeah, just Councillor Rivera.
So who's responsible for setting the meeting up in the first place? You must give 24 hours notice, whatever it is. I mean, I'm assuming that you have the same right to cancel a meeting and give the same notice without any kind of council approval, right or wrong?
Are you asking me or the legal counsel?
Asking you, Your Worship. I'm trying to figure out who sets the meeting.
The meeting for tomorrow night was set by the planning department. It didn't go through planning committee. It didn't go through planning board.
It never does.
No, it didn't go through planning committee. We didn't set the meeting date.
It never does.
No, but to go to a public consultation, we would have, but that didn't happen here because this is a vote from council. This was not from the planning board. So again, Councillor Rivera, all I can say is that a call was made, actually an email was sent by some of the residents to delay it so that we could wait until doing it in person. Now, it's obvious that section 20.1 overrides section 19. So in the future, any councillor that wants to bring a motion or resolution to the floor that night, I think it will be disallowed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay, so that's going forward. Okay.
Great.
Any other points?
Just myself, Your Worship, if I can just have one point there.
Go ahead, Councillor Tron.
I mean, this is, we've argued this for 15 or 20 minutes. This is a simple request to allow some residents of the city of Charlottetown to voice their opinion. I mean, I don't understand why we're getting involved in all these minor, legalities when, really legal issues that can be argued for or against at any time. I mean, this is something that, we have to sit here as a council, and I believe we should give the people what they want is just an open and transparent opportunity to give their opinion. I mean, I think we're failing them if we don't do that. And to get tied up in bylaws and legalities when it's a stated fact that you can argue it either way. And I think if our legal team had some time, they could argue it either way. So, I just think we should give these people the opportunity to have a meeting in a face-to-face manner. And if they need 8 minutes or 12 minutes, let's just give them an opportunity, and then we can all vote on what way we believe. But I think it's a good thing for us as councillors to give the people a chance. During this COVID-19, everybody's stressed about everything. It's Christmas. Just let's not get tied up on these issues. But that's just my opinion.
Your Worship, just to be fair, that council has a legal counsel at all council meetings to give advice, and you have gotten advice from legal counsel to the best of the information that we have, and there's not to and fro. This is her one advice, and there's not two sides. It's quite direct, and council's advice is there to take, or her advice is there to take.
So from this advice from legal counsel, in the future, a council that wishes to bring a motion to the floor cannot do that prior to the meeting. He or she must take it through the standing committees. Okay.
Yep.
Councillor Yankoff, did you have something to add? Councillor Yankoff?
Did I have my hand up?
Yeah, you said you wanted under the approval of the agenda.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant on this. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound so curt. Yes, I just had one more agenda item. The resolution that is under council advisory, that's removed, removed from the agenda. It needs to go back to committee for further clarification, with the board appointment.
Okay, so that's the procedural bylaw issue?
No, that is the only resolution under council advisory, which is the board appointment for Division 150 or 250,
Vision 2050.
Vision 2050, right, sorry, for that, board appointment.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay? You want to just delete that from the agenda, correct? CAC. Okay. So we're going to adoption of previous draft minutes, regular meeting November 9th. I'm sure that you...
And you should approve the agenda as amended, Your Worship.
Yep, just 1 second. So the agenda is added where economic development will go first, no problem.
Yeah.
Everything is all from that. Good. Move.
Your Worship?
Yep.
Councillor Tweel?
So what did we decide with respect to Deputy Mayor Cody's motion?
His adding to the agenda, legal advice is saying that Section 20 of the procedural bylaw overrides Section 19, so it can't be added. It has to go through the committee, the standing committee. And in this case, the standing committee responsible is planning and development.
Okay.
So moved by who to moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Councillor Tweel, in favor?
In favor.
Sir Cody, in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Regular monthly meeting November 9th, and the special meetings open November 18th and 30th. Need a motion to adopt the minutes.
Make the motion.
Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Okay, we can do this just by all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any business arising out of the minutes? Any business? Seeing none? Okay, so we can go to the first report, and Councillor McLeod, do you want to take that?
Yes.
Report?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Development, Tourism, and Event Management Committee met on November 23rd. The open minutes are included in the package. The Town Arctic Advisory Board met on the 24th of November. The draft are in the package. There's 2 resolutions for consideration. And if I may, Your Worship, just a few highlights. The Tourism and Events Management Team recently participated in Sport Tourism Canada's virtual sport event exchange. City, through its Sport Tourism Initiative SCORE, is also the presenting partner. This created an opportunity for the city to remain at the top of the game, and when it comes to sport tourism attraction during these challenging times. The city was a partner in the Charlottetown Christmas Festival, which was a great success and wrapped up yesterday. And special thanks to Discover Charlottetown for their great work on this initiative. And the Wintertide Holiday Festival is still in full swing until January the 3rd. While respecting the COVID protocols, we recently hosted our Wintertide Holiday Festival Christmas concerts in support of the Salvation Army Christmas Carol campaign. And once again, it's sold out, bringing 1,200 people to the Confederation Center Hamburg Theater for 4 different shows over 2 days. And due to the capacity restrictions, the concert was also showed live stream, and we've had over 15,000 views at this time. And the last but not least, the Charlottetown Christmas Parade presents Santa Claus Comes to Town, wound its way through our city neighborhoods earlier this month. The evening, I didn't participate myself. I had a prior engagement, but the tour passed through all the wards, and there was an incredible outpouring of support. Thousands of residents welcomed Santa to the city, to the driveways, front doors, windows, you name it. And the event was a display of the spirit of season And on behalf of our tourism and event management team, I thank every member of council who volunteered their time to participate, along with staff from police, fire, and public works departments. And just a final note to add, on behalf of Councillor McCabe and the rest of the committee, I would like to give Laura Lee a real shout out. The weatherman participate with us all the time, so it was quite a nightmare for keep all the committees and public works department, fire, police, and all of us councillors in line to get to these shows. So Laura, thank you very much. This it also gathered national coverage on TV. So hats off to Laura and your team. Thank you very much for hard work. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Worship. And again, I see Laurel there up on the screen, and I feel like asking her if she's a genius. I mean, this was a really good idea in a time that we're going through, and the kids just want to see Santa, and to be able to bring Santa to them. And we all know, I mean, when we went through our wards, we were all in the fire truck. We've seen everyone out on their doorsteps at the end of the road. We've seen the excitement. I thought it was a fantastic idea. It went over very well, and I want to definitely send my congratulations to the Economic Development Committee. And I assume, Laurel, you and Wayne and yourself was heading this up, but what a fantastic idea. And yes, it did go over very well, and it was great to see so much excitement on the kids' faces. So kudos to you guys. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. If you're not speaking, please just mute your mic because there's a lot of feedback. Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, and I'd like to pass on my congratulations to Laurel. You did a fantastic job, as you always do in every department and all that. And I was very amazed at the crowds. They must have watched the schedule, but in certain areas, there are an awful lot of people out. So congratulations again, you and your staff.
Anyone else?
Your Worship?
Councillor Rivard from Ward 7.
Yes, and no sense saving it to the Protective Services report, but again, with that parade that took place, the huge part of the success was because of our firefighters and our police officers that cleared their time as well to. So I'd like to say, special thanks to them as well.
Yeah.
And again, job well done.
Good point there, Councillor Rivard, because there were volunteer firefighters driving the fire trucks, and we had full-time staff, and of course the Ward 7 and 8 tour took us 4 hours. 4 hours, and poor old Santa was soaking right to the skin. Took him, I think, the next day to dry out, and thank God we didn't have to go that day on Saturday. So that 4 hour trek through Ward 7 and 8, I don't think we missed a street. Anyways, thank you very much to all. There are 2 resolutions?
Yes, Your Worship.
2 resolutions.
Oh, did you want to say something, Councillor Duffy?
Yes, I ditto on the appreciation to the gang for the work they did for 5 nights in a row, a couple of rainouts, but it was fun by everybody that participated. The kids, the adults, the councillors, the fire truck, Russell, everybody had fun. It was great, and everybody appreciated it. They really did appreciate it. Doom and gloom we had the last 9 months, they really went all out. I have a question for Councillor McCabe, but I don't know if it's fair to ask Councillor McLeod as he's just sitting in, but it has to do with Sir John A. Macdonald. I have the resolution here that we passed on the 25th of June. There was 2 issues to be addressed. One was the city of the Charlottetown and Sir John A. remain in place, and further, the second issue, that has been done. We had a 10-0 vote on this resolution, and half it was done before it left the council chamber. The second part, as we all know, was to produce, with the cooperation of 3 other interest groups, a plaque and to be fully explanatory of John A. Macdonald and the life he led and the work he did, and some of it was bright and some of it was not so bright. We all understand that. My question is, I read in the minutes about terms of reference and all this razzmatazz. I'm wondering, has that got to do with the outstanding item of a plaque? But where's this thing going? I mean, is that fair, Councillor McLeod, to ask you that question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can answer that. So I had brought up that same question at the particular meeting that we had, and I think what was best to decide was that council should give a more clearer direction, because we have seemed to veer away a little bit from what the actual resolution says. So I suggested that at that time that it would go to back to council to see if council wants the terms of reference and the sign, temporary sign, and those things. So I think it's got to go back to council, and I think our economic development team is not meeting before Christmas, so we'll probably be into January before we'll actually get back into that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Do you want to read the first resolution there, Mr. Kelly?
And yes, Your Worship, moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor McLeod, that the City of Charlottetown enter into an agreement as attached with the Hotel Association of PEI, Discover Charlottetown, and Meetings and Conventions PEI with respect to the Tourism Accommodation Levy, TAL, and that the Mayor and city are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements, Your Worship.
Okay. So it's moved by Julie McCabe, so we have to get someone else to move that, and she's not here.
So it would be Councillor McLeod, Your Worship. That would be Councillor McLeod, and who else is on the committee? On the committee, else is Economic Development.
Councillor Rand, no. Who else? Councillor Tweed, you're on the committee.
Kit Mitchell's on.
Yeah. Councillor Tweed, you want to second it?
Yeah, I'll second
So,
it.
moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Mitchell-Tweed. Any questions? Question?
Questions called.
Okay, so I have to do, again, a roll call because Tracy needs to know who voted for and against. Councillor Yankoff, yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
Yes.
Councillor Duran?
In favor?
Councillor Tweel?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in
Councillor
favor.
Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
So 9-0. Do you want to read the next one, sir?
Yes, Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Tweel, that the City of Charlottetown amend the City of Charlottetown Public Art Policy as attached.
Okay. And that's moved by, again, we'll have to get someone else to second that.
Yeah,
So moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Tweel.
Yep.
Councillor Tweel. Any questions? Question called?
Questions called.
Okay, Councillor Yankoff.
Favor.
Councillor Duffy.
Favor.
Braun.
In favor?
Councillor Tweel.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard. Councillor Rivard.
Yeah.
Councillor Bernard.
Yes.
Deputy Cody. Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
9-0. Anything else? Is that it, Councillor McLeod?
That concludes the report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. So we can go back to 6.1. Thank you, Laura Lee.
Thanks, Lord.
So planning and heritage, Councillor Michael Duffy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, fellow councillors. Before I get into the core of the matter for tonight, I just like to mention briefly that we're getting a bit of feedback from various people, especially out in the Sherwood area, in regard to the traffic studies, traffic reports that we've had done. We had done in one case, and a private developer has had done in another case. The first one that was done was by the developer of the Sherwood Crossing area. That he had done with his own revenues, his own money. He did it for his own certification or his assurance that everything was above board and the way it should be. The second one had to do with the master traffic plan. That was sponsored or commissioned by the City of Charlottetown. It's a bigger plan that does probably a 2041, I believe, forecast of what the traffic flows will be on various thoroughfares, contributors, main arteries, that sort of thing. In the Sherwood area, basically south of the crosstown arterial highway, over around the Charlottetown Mall, over towards Stone Park School, and maybe from Belvedere Avenue up. All that, it's a bigger, much bigger than the Sherwood Crossing area. So it's two traffic studies done by different organizations for different purposes. People seem to think that this the large one, the global one, was to validate or confirm Sherwood Crossing in place, when actually it has nothing to do with that. It had a bearing, like any area that I just mentioned would have. But the approval of Sherwood Crossing, whether it was approved or not, was not contingent upon the master traffic plan. So that might have been my mistake with a newspaper article, an interview I gave where I was talking about the Sherwood Crossing passing at a regular council meeting, and I talked a little bit about another road, and that led people to believe really not what I was trying to say. So for that, I apologize, but that I hope clears the matter up, because we've gotten a few questions on it. So, and back to the master traffic plan that was done with taxpayer money. So therefore, in the new year, when things are finalized, we will be having a public meeting to explain the details of that traffic plan to everyone who would wish to come. That's it for that, Your Worship. I hope I cleared up a bit of confusion there.
Councillor Thomas.
Yes.
Can I just interrupt just on your agenda? It has 2 McCrae Drive, that should be 2 McAleer Drive.
That was my first correction, and the second one was the building, right below that, the building code bylaw, the resolution for that's been pulled, because that particular information or that particular change will be addressed in a bylaw amendment when we finish our resolutions tonight, at the end of this, the end of this presentation.
And can I just say one other thing,
yes,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The orientation that was hosted by yourself and Alex Forbes and David Hooley,
yes.
I found it very informative, but also I think that it took some of the recommendations
yes.
and applied them to how we can reference where we have to look in our package to see the background and also the vote.
Right.
Thank you for doing that. That's
You're quite welcome.
It's very more ordered and allows quick reference to where we are.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely. That was a good session, Your Worship, and I and Mr. Forbes and Mr. Hooley both, and plus the members of the board suggested that the council members take it. It's only 3 hours, a Saturday morning, and it makes life easier. It makes it a lot easier, I think. I know people aren't pleased with the having to rationalize their vote, and it goes contrary to the development officer. Sorry about that, but it's not my rule. It's the rule of the Supreme Court of Canada, and brought to us also by the Iraq people on 3 different occasions. So not much we can do. Okay, Your Worship, you want to move on to the 2 McAleer Drive resolution right off the bat?
Could we just ask if there are any questions first about your report?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
Any questions? Okay. If you want to go to your first resolution, do you want or do you want to give a background on 2 McAleer Drive?
The McAleer Drive is it deals with a 30-meter communications tower that Bell Line is putting there. It was approved to put in that particular area at 2 McAleer Drive back in September. Some of the members of planning board at that time thought it was kind of not in the right place. So there was a lot of discussion about the zoning Bishop, planning board people, the contract person for Bell Line, and as recently as last week with the Bell Alliance people. You know, people saw the reason for moving it, but then there was the other side of the coin where we couldn't move it where we wanted it to go because it interfered with the industry going on that lot out there. So Mr. Kelly will be reading the resolution. So we hope we have covered off as best we could under the circumstances, the situation for our resolution.
Do we have to rescind the October 13th resolution, or does this just override it?
I would ask Mr. Kelly the answer to that question if he could provide that.
I'll speak to the solicitor. If you just want to clarify the question, Your Worship.
So on October 13th, we passed a resolution 7-1, a request to direct staff to issue a statement of concurrence to Industry Canada in relation to the proposed antenna system at 2 McAleer Drive. And this resolution, Councillor Duffy, adds that we know that they did try to reach out Bell Canada by a public meeting. So do we have to rescind October 13th in order to go forward with December 14th?
And she indicated no, Your Worship.
Okay. Do you want to read the resolution?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff. Be it resolved that the Council rescind their previous resolution dated October 13th, 2020, as it pertains to a Bell Mobility Tower at 2 McAleer Drive, PID 441139, and replace it with the following resolution, and that the City of Charlottetown acknowledges that they have been consulted by Bell Mobility through their agent WSP Canada Inc. in accordance with the City of Charlottetown Telecommunications Tower siting requirements as it relates to the proposed antenna system Bell Mobility Tower at 2 McAleer Drive, PID 441139, that the City of Charlottetown has reviewed the information provided and acknowledged that a public consultation program has been completed, and that Council strongly recommends that the tower be located further back on the site from Mount Edward Road, at least 100 meters, with provision that the proposed tower accommodations of co-location be approved.
Question.
So Councillor Duffy, moved by you. Councillor McCabe is not here, so we need another secretary.
Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
Councillor Yankoff, great.
Can I just ask a question, Mr. Your Worship?
Yes, go right ahead.
So we're just agreeing to this, like, I just want the last sentence here. We recommended that they're moving it, but they don't have to move it to the back of the lot because of, the requirements that, Canada allows them through the telecommunications. Like, we're just asking them to move it back, but they don't have to move it back. Is that correct?
Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, no, they don't. No, it's just a recommendation from the planning board. It's not an order. We don't have the authority to order them. It's really
put it where they want, basically.
Really between Bell and the owner of the property out there, the shipping company.
McGinnis Transport.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Question called, Councillor Duffy?
Yes. Pardon?
Okay.
Question called?
Did you call the question?
Question?
Okay. Councillor Yankoff? Yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Cron?
No.
Councillor Tweel? Councillor Tweel? Councillor Tweel, you turn it off? Okay.
In favor?
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Councillor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
And Councillor McLeod? 8-1, Councillor Duran opposed. Okay, sir, next resolution.
So,
Thank you.
Your Worship, just for clarity as well, the next resolution, number 2, will be included in the reading papers for the bylaw under E4, so this one will not be going forward. We'll deal with it in E4, Your Worship.
Yeah. So 20 Upper Hillsborough Street.
And Upper Hillsborough Street, this is
No, this is the building code, Your Worship.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this is presently a duplex. The the owner of the property would like to convert the duplex into a 4-unit apartment. In order to do that, he is a little short on the frontage. He'd like to have a variance where he would where he only has 15, or he requires 82 feet in order to have a fourplex on the building. He only has 59.5 feet, so for the difference, he is looking for a variance. Recommendation was to approve. Staff recommendation was to approve, and that's pretty well it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Question?
Yeah, I just want to ask, is there a requirement for parking down in that area? I looked at it there. Didn't seem to be much parking there.
Just 1 second, Councillor Duran. Some others have their mics on. Councillor Ramsey, Councillor Twill, there's feedback. Hey, can you repeat that, Councillor Duran?
I'm just asking if there's a parking requirement for it. I mean, when I went down to view it, there didn't seem to be much parking available. And I'm just wondering, is that to do with a 500 lot area or anything like that? It just doesn't seem that there's like 4 recognized spots there.
This is not in the 500 lot area. It's about, I think, 60 meters north of it. I did read it somewhere today that there was 4 parking spaces available, and they would remain available. I'm just scanning here quickly to see where I read that, because I thought the same thing. It's fairly tight quarters up there, but I'm sure that the development officer, who, by the way, is our new development officer, Emily Trainer, which I'd like to welcome aboard. Alex, are you on the line there, Alex?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
The report indicates that there will be 2 additional parking spaces required for this development. So that was contemplated at the time that the analysis was provided for this property. Thank you, thank you, Your Worship.
Yep. Thank you.
Is that all right there, Councillor?
Well, I'd just like to know where would they get them? Like where can you get 2 more spots?
I'll give it a shot.
I can give it a shot too.
Okay. Councillor Twill?
This particular property, I had an opportunity to visit the property owners when they purchased the property. Excuse me, and their intentions to revitalize the building. I thought there were 3 apartments previously, and now they wanted to go to 4. The parking requirements that they have to adhere to, they made room in the backyard. I was up and I investigated the property myself, before, during, and after. This was one of the, just to bring it to everyone's attention, this was one of the drug houses that I referred to a number of months ago, which was plaguing the community and the neighborhood and causing a tremendous amount of turmoil and negatively affected the quality of life for this neighborhood. And what's happening now, this current property owner and the good work that he's done, not just with this property, but all of the properties in Upper Hillsborough Street, I think has been fantastic. It's made this neighborhood now more livable. People feel safe walking up and down the street, particularly with their children. And now everyone seems to be back on the same page. So I'm supporting the resolution because of the good work that Nicholas Hennessy and his father has done on this particular street and throughout the city of Charlottetown. Their credibility and their track record speaks for itself. They made a lot of investments in a number of properties. It creates more housing stock, and to be honest with everyone, you don't need a car when you're living at this particular location. You can walk downtown. It's only a 5-minute walk, and it's probably only a 7 or 8 minute walk to Sobeys Vince Mulligan would be able to give a better accurate account of how long it takes to walk to Sobeys. But the point is that we have a lot of people that want to live in these neighborhoods that don't even have cars. I do believe Nicholas Hennessy has met the parking requirements by the work that he's done in the backyard, and what they've done here is fantastic. And I can't thank Terry Hennessy and his son Nicholas for all the good work they've done on this particular street and throughout the city of Charlottetown.
Thanks, Councillor Tweel. Councillor Yankoff? Councillor Yankoff?
I was just going to say the same thing, but Councillor Tweel did that instead. I had been down as well and saw that the parking was added to the back garden area, and so really nothing more to be said. Thank you, Councillor Tweel, for your words, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. And yes, Councillor Duffy, it is in the 500 lots. It's down on...
It's north of the 500 lots.
No, it's south. It's
Houston,
south.
I was there myself. It's Houston Street. It's behind the store on the corner where they're selling wash machines now. It's on the same side.
I was looking at 22. Sorry, sir. I was looking at 22 Hillsborough, the old city.
So was 22. Both of them are...
Well, I just Googled it. But anyways, Councillor...
Your Worship, on the same token, in the write-up, it has the applicant is proposing to maintain the existing driveway access off Upper Hillsborough Street, to add two new parking spaces at the rear of the building, as Alana and or Councillor Yankoff and Councillor Tweel have alluded to. And those two new parking spots will serve the two dwelling units and maintain the existing two parking spaces at the rear of the building. So you have four spots at the back of the building.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, no, I just want to comment. It was interesting to hear Councillor Tweel talk about the past in this house and the difference that it's made. And it's good to hear those stories where the revitalization is kicking into the city and the history in the past is kind of a dark past. It just goes to show you when somebody puts some time and energy into redoing a property over and they revitalize not just at home, but it continues on to revitalize the whole street. So it's interesting to hear that, and I appreciate it, and it just makes our city all the better. And it's good to get rid of another. You know, it's the drugs that'll destroy a neighborhood pretty quick. So it's nice to hear that that's gone.
Thank you. Question? Yep. Okay. Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Cron?
In favor.
Councillor Tweel? Councillor Tweel? On mute.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
Favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
9-0. Okay. Next resolution.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the request for a major variance to increase the maximum height of the proposed building from 49.2 feet to approximately 58.9 feet, average grade to the top of the main roof line, in order to construct a 60-unit apartment building at 219 Minna Jane Drive, Lot 52B, PID number 577585, be approved, Bishop.
You want to add any information there, Councillor Duffy?
Well, Your Worship, that we've all seen these areas out here. There's 2 or 3 under construction. It's going to be quite a busy place for multi-unit buildings. This particular area is zoned commercial, highway commercial. So it is a building for all these buildings are permitted use in the highway commercial category zone. So that's all I have to add to that.
Any other comments?
Your Worship?
Yes?
Just a comment, Your Worship. Councillor Duff, just want to ensure that when this project gets underway, that the proper storm water management procedures are in place. We've received a letter there from an adjacent property owner dealing with surface water runoff, and there's been a tremendous amount of work done for the Ellens Creek watershed down below that. So I know it's a formality, but just if we could pay close attention to this because it is a large area. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. There was a letter to that issue, and I'm sure Mr. Forbes has made a note of that. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Councillor McLeod? No? Okay. Question called?
Question called.
I'm just changing Julie McCabe as seconder to Councillor.
Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Yankoff, yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Duran?
In favor?
Councillor Twill?
In favor.
Councillor Bird?
In favor.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Okay. Next. Thank you. Next resolution.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, that the request for a variance to section 28.2.1 of the zoning and development bylaw by reducing the required lot frontage from 20 meters or 65.6 feet to approximately 17.37 meters or 57 feet in order to allow a 7-unit within an apartment dwelling at 50 Grafton Street, PID 891432 be approved, Your Worship.
Councillor Duffy, any background or?
Yes, Your Worship. I think we're all familiar with this area. It's right across the street from what was formerly known as the Golden Walk Chinese Restaurant. This is a 6-unit apartment building. In 1983, under the RAP program, it went from being permitted for a 4-unit apartment building to a 6-unit. And then later on, when the 500 issue came to the floor and was passed, that caused the permitted use in this particular building to drop from the 6 units down to 3. Therefore, 3 were legal, 3 were legal non-conforming. That held until today, and the owner of the property would like to, there's 1 unit on the bottom floor that's very large, 3 bedrooms, would like to divide that in 2 to make them pretty well all the same size then, and that would provide the seventh unit for this particular. So he doesn't have the frontage. He has, I believe, by my calculation here, about 8 feet of forgiveness on the frontage in order to accommodate the 7th unit. So the staff recommendation was to reject, and the board recommendation was to approve. So that's where it stands, Your Worship.
So is this the old Campbell household?
Yes, it is, yes.
Sam Campbell and that crew? Okay.
Yeah, you have a garage behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe that the committee and the board, both of them ended up being recommendations to reject, because correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Duffy, but I think what ended up happening was it was a tie, because the board recommendation for that, no, my mistake. Great. All right.
5-3.
Yeah, that's right.
It was 5-3 to approve.
Right.
And the development officer was recommending to
exactly. Yeah, my apologies.
And the basis that the development officer was giving to reject was that because of the 3, it's a non-conforming building because of the 3 excess units, and that's not the proper word, but it's the 3 over and above the 3 he's allowed. He's in a non-conforming position as it is. To add the 7th unit was further non-conforming him because his limit is 3. That was the rationale put forward by the development officer.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Duffy. And
this is one where we will have to ask those people that are voting counter to the development officer to state their rationale.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. As I spoke in the planning board meeting, I will be supporting the 50 Grafton Street additional unit. It has been non-conforming, you're correct, but it's been non-conforming since in the 80s. And when I look at our planners, sheet where they put in the positives and the shortcomings. We have we have 2 shortcomings and we have 5 positives. And one of the shortcomings is that the property, when we looked at, there wasn't enough frontage in Upper Hillsborough, which is the exact same thing as Grafton Street. So I don't really count that one. So I will be supporting it because I'm seeing way more positives than I am shortcomings. And as the ward councillor for Ward 1, there's a tremendous amount of people looking for units downtown. And so that's just another added bonus for the downtown area for another unit in a building on Grafton Street. So I will be supporting the applicant's request for the 7th unit. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. Okay, Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And I just kind of want to echo what Councillor Yankoff had just said. I mean, I got nothing new to add, but I certainly support her remarks, and I will be supporting the support rejecting the planning staff's recommendation to reject. Yes. I'm in favor of this project.
Okay. This is it's recommended for approval.
No, it's recommended to be, I'm sorry, it depends, Councillor Bernard, it's recommended by the planning officer for rejection. It's recommended by the planning board for approval.
Yeah.
Well, the resolution doesn't say all that. It just says that it's recommended to be approved.
Yeah.
To be approved.
Yeah.
So that's approved for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Question?
Question called.
Question called. Councillor Yankoff, yea or nay?
In favor of the in favor.
Okay, Councillor Duffy?
No.
No. Okay, Councillor Duran?
In favor.
Okay. Councillor Twill?
He's on.
Yay?
If I say that I'm voting in favor, is that in favor of the addition of the apartment, making it 7?
It is to approve.
That's what the resolution says, yeah?
That's right
Yeah,
there.
the resolution is to approve. The development officer's recommendation
Was to reject.
was to reject.
Okay. So just to go back to where Alana was, Councillor Alana, so this is to approve,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in favor.
Yay, thank you. Councillor
I'm in
Bernard?
favor.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor?
Deputy Mayor?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey? In favor. Councillor McLeod? Councillor McLeod?
Jerry?
On mute. Yay?
I am in favor, but I also would like to just have the detail mentioned that the outside of the building was in a little bit of disarray, that there were some letters saying that it needed to be cleaned up a little bit, and that was part of this agreement, I believe. Would that be right, Councillor Duffy?
No. The letters did say that. You're absolutely right. But there's no deal struck. I mean, that was just, that was the purpose of the whole discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I am in favor of simply the fact that we need the housing downtown and to bring people from downtown to support the downtown group. So, yes, in favor.
Thank you, Rick.
Councillor Duffy, guys, if you're not speaking, just mute it, please, because there's feedback and I'm losing my hearing. Okay, Councillor Deputy Mayor, you have to take over the next one, number 4, because it deals with Sherwood Road and it's located at lot 18-2. I'm in conflict.
And
Okay.
Councillor
So is
McLeod's
Councillor-
also taking away as well.
What's that?
Councillor McLeod's also stepping away as well, Your Worship.
So we can just click out. You can take over, Councillor. Deputy Mayor
Okay.
Code. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I turn it over to Councillor Duffy if you have anything to say, or we can ask Mr. Kelly to read the resolution.
Well, the next one is lot 18-2 Sherwood Road. It's the application by the Arsenault brothers to build. This was presented, as we know, a month ago, and they were they decided that they wouldn't go forward to council at that time because there were some questions about the health hazards or the suspected or potential health hazards from the Maritime Electric generating station next door to their property here, or the property they plan to develop. So that's why it's here now. They have also they've reduced their, I believe, their ask from 3 buildings down to 2, and from the last one, I think it was 200 units in total. It's down to now to 187 in total. The major stumbling block, I believe, from our staff was the fact that this land is zoned M3 in heavy industrial, and they wanted to have it rezoned to commercial, highway commercial. So I think that's the bare bones of it. I think Councillor Mr. Kelly could read the resolution. Any questions emanate from there, we can take.
Okay, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankov. That's a request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from industrial to commercial, and amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the business park industrial M3 zone to the highway commercial C2 zone in order to construct 2 separate apartment buildings that will result in a total 186 apartment units on the property located at Lot 18-2 Sherwood Road, PID 455642, be rejected.
Now, yes, and that was the recommendation of the development officer, was to reject.
Okay, thank you. I see Councillor Rivard has his hand up.
Thank you. I'm glad, thanks for the report, Councillor Duffy. I'm kind of glad that you talked about the health hazards. And I was hoping not to see that factored into this decision, because I look at some of the allowable uses in the M3 zone, and I see commercial daycare as an as of right, an educational institution being a school being an as of right. Believe it or not, a medical and health office being an as of right. So when we're talking health issues, the as of rights that would be allowed to build there under the M3 zone kind of contradict the health piece. But what I want to focus on is the positives versus the shortcomings in the report. And I'm a little surprised that planning staff have recommended for rejection, because I look at the positives and I look at some of the talks about the need for housing, the renewable energy, the on-site amenities, the infill, and the property being close to T3 transit. I think those are all tremendous positives. And I look at what's being built up just around the corner, which is, Minna Jane. We have 3 big apartment buildings within close proximity of these buildings. I look at the shortcomings, and it talks about no multi-resident, no connection to active public transportation. But again, the public transportation is at the end of Sherwood Road. That can be changed later on. It talks about land compatibility issues between the two, but if you look at the apartments being built on the other side of Seafood Express, then they technically would have the same land compatibility issues that this one should have. The developers also stated that they're willing to cost share on an active transportation trail on the Sherwood Road, which is only going to make that road much safer. So when I look at the amount of the uses, I guess, that are allowed there, be it a marijuana production facility, be it a warehouse or storage facility, be it a bar, a hotel, these places would cause much more of a headache to residents than that of an apartment building that would, that has affordable housing units in it, disability units available. Something, I'm in favor of this. I strongly disagree with planning's recommendation on this one. Thank you.
I think the difference, Councillor Rivard, and between the Minna Jane buildings up there and this particular request is that Minna Jane has their land up there is C2, it's highway commercial, it's a permitted use what they're doing, whereby down where these folks are, they're taking M3 and trying to rezone it to C2. And everything I read is that municipalities are very jealous of their industrial space, and they can't be putting residential areas into what is reserved for industrial, because there'll come a day down the road where they won't have the industrial space to accommodate the needs of the city. I can remember back in our last term, as you well remember, across from the church on the upper side of Sherwood Road there, that Mr. Campbell wanted to put in some R4, R3 buildings up there, and it was on industrial land, and council said no.
Councillor Rivard.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy, I'm glad you brought that up, because I look at Sherwood Road as two different, I don't look at it as one road. I look at it as two pieces. There is a square on the upper part of Sherwood Road where you see the car dealerships, you see the asphalt plant, you see all these businesses, and you're right. That area certainly is more heavy industrial and into. But if you look down in the lower part of Sherwood Road, it creeps into residential. So again, there has to be that cutoff, and you have Seafood Express, and then you have, potentially what could be there is a marijuana facility, a hotel, whatever it may be as of right. I have to believe that the residents would appreciate, for me anyways, this type of use versus that. I mean, again, we're creeping into a residential area, so there has to be that seamless transition, if you will. That's the reason why we voted against this on Sherwood Road when Mr. Campbell brought it forward, because it went from heavy industrial and it was supposed to go seamless into, lower, I'll say commercial, then into lower density housing was the plan. I'd make the argument the same way down here. I think this is a good idea, transitioning into housing.
Not to be argumentative, Mr. or Councillor Rivard, but 6 people who did present at the public meeting were opposed to this development.
Councillor Duffy, I mean, again, I read literature from you talking about how many people show up for Trader Drive application, and you dismiss it as not being important because there's not many people show up. So 6 people out of all the residents in Charlottetown seems pretty small. I mean, I've talked to people in Bell Heights this weekend, residents of mine that certainly were supportive of it. So, they didn't send letters in, but again, six letters of opposition isn't.
No, these people were present in scope.
Yeah, but okay.
They were present tonight. They were present tonight of the public meeting. Anyway, thank you, Councilor Rivera.
Okay.
Sorry, Councilor Cody, say that if 6 people speaking is I don't want to use the word validates this, then we better, when we look at Trainer Drive, when people show up, then that should be, looked at as well.
No, that was another factor I was saying. Like, we still have the protection of industrial land. I didn't mean that 6 people were the sole factor of decision.
Okay. Councillor Yankoff had her hand up.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was, as a member of the Planning Committee and Planning Board, this ended up in a tie, and so there was, it was close, and then of course it was board recommendation as well as staff recommendation did vote to reject it. But I would just like to note that the board's recommendation was very, very close, and the discussions, what I focused on was, again, there were 5 positives on this development, and there were 5 shortcomings. So I saw this as something that could be one or the other, but the positives that I saw that made me support this was the willingness of the developer to not only ensure that the T3 Transit was close by, but to work with T3 Transit to make sure that they could do anything they could to ensure the ability for people to get where they need to get from there, as well as the willingness to add additional green space and a playground. And so for that reason, I will be supporting the applicant to develop in this area. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. I think Councillor, I'm not, Deputy Cody, I think Councillor Bernard had a hand up there.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Bernard.
You're muted.
You have to unmute Councillor Bernard.
That would help, wouldn't it? When I read this, and I read it with interest, and I think the developer has a very reputable background. I think he's going to do what he says. My only concern was the comment from Maritime Electric, and I guess if someone can confirm, somebody on the planning committee, and maybe yourself, Mike, is there a health concern there that Maritime Electric is concerned about? Or is Maritime Electric just saying they're against this building going up beside their electric facility? Was there a reason that was there a reason Maritime Electric was against this facility being built next to their power plant there on Sherwood Road? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Gary. Councilor, are you talking to me?
Yep. Well, anybody that can answer it. I'm just wondering, is there a health concern, or was Maritime Electric just saying they'd rather not have it next to their plant?
Well, I think there was a health concern. I'm not sure on that, though, to tell you the truth. They had their opinion, and I assume they're on top of it, being, that's their primary industry, and they should have knowledge in that area.
Is Alex allowed, would he be able to offer any advice here? Alex, do you have anything to offer up?
Please.
Your Worship, I think their primary concern was that they invested heavily in a property up there for industrial use, and their fear is, like most people, that if you've got residential encroaching into their new operation, that people will clearly possibly have a concern in the future. There is a fairly significant transmission line there. The issue of electromagnetic resonance, which is some, it's sort of an offset of when you're running electrical lines, but there's nothing in Canada that indicates that that is a concern, or there's a regulation that this particular development would be certainly not adhering to. So I would say their primary concern was they don't want complaints in the future when they're running their operation, but it is a fairly significant substation there.
Okay.
And Your Worship, I have no idea where the vote's going to go, but depending on how the vote's going to go, if it was going to go in the affirmative, I would just suggest that you also include subject to a development agreement. So I'm not really certain, but it's for denial right now. But if it was to be approved, signing a development agreement would ensure a lot of the things that some of the councillors are discussing would be included in that agreement. Thank you.
Okay.
Answer that question there, Councillor Cody?
Yeah, are you okay, Councillor Bernard?
I am. I'm just reading here about the electromagnetic fields, and so if there's not a concern there, then that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Durand.
Yeah, I was just reading the Health Canada attachment to it there, and they seem to have no concerns. So I'm just wondering, that shouldn't be a problem with it. I'm certainly going to support this. As we hear every day, we need housing. Just around the corner, we have 90 or more units going in, and I think it would be a positive build for the community. And I'm glad to hear Councillor Rivard saying he was speaking to people in the area, and they're not against it. So I think it's a good build, and I will be supporting it. And thank you very much.
Councillor Rivard, I think, Deputy, I think Councillor Rivard has been...
Sorry, Councillor Rivard. I can't see everybody. Go ahead, Councillor Rivard.
No, that's all good. No, I was just going to refer back to Councillor Bernard's question around the health. There's a whole attachment there, the attachment F, and it talks on page, I guess it's C117. It's attachment F5, but it talks about limited evidence when it comes to the transmissions to humans and stuff. So again, I found it kind of comical when I read, if health was a factor, why we would have it zoned M3 to begin with, because, again, schools and licensed daycares would be allowed as permissible uses, but yet you can't have an apartment there. So it just seemed odd to me that, that's all. So,
but just on that, Councillor Rivard, though, if you read what you're talking about, it also talks about the United States. And California doesn't allow for 100 feet up to 500 feet near schools, residential, and so on. So they have standards. Canada doesn't. And I guess my concern was reading that. Do we have any concerns that maritime electeds may have expressed? And I see that Health Canada, they don't really have any guidelines, so I guess right now we're saying no. But my concern was in the United States, they keep them a distance from them, up to 500 feet, anywhere from 100 to 500 feet. So that was my concern.
Now, my understanding, sorry, Councillor Cody, is that this development is actually further from the plant than the residential R1 homes below. That's what I was told. So if it wasn't a problem, I guess back then because that plant's been there for a while. So, anyways, I digress.
That was true to be in the report, but I'm not sure on that either. Okay, are you ready for the question, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, if there's a question
Councillor
called.
Twill is there. Can you see Councillor Twill?
No. Councillor Twill, you have something to add?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. Just trying to follow along. I know that the developers, on their own volition, had asked for a deferral last month to go back and to restructure their development and add some other amenities and commitments. And one of the things that really struck me is something I've been advocating for the past several years, is more green space when it comes to construction of apartment buildings. It's not just adhering to the 10%. I think they've gone above and beyond the requirements for green space, and that showed me that obviously they want to build a quality development that their residents are going to be pleased with and make them certainly feel more comfortable. It's not just going to be a development with a sea of parking and a tarmac, if you will. The other thing is their willingness to come to the table and make a financial commitment for the active for transportation venue on Sherwood Road. We've all driven up and down Sherwood Road, and it's extremely dangerous for pedestrian traffic. So if you were to look at it, whether you're a cyclist, walker, jogger, runner, passive or active recreation in any which way, shape, or form, they're coming to the city of Charlottetown making that commitment. That's a very, very rare occasion when you see that. You have some developers say, no, you pay for the infrastructure. So I think it's good on them that they're being proactive and being progressive in that regards. And the other thing is, I read here towards somewhere in the package, to ensure that all the items raised in the report above are included in the final product. Quote, we would be willing to enter a development agreement which would include a design review approval as part of the affordable dwelling units approval process. So, they've even added their own prerequisites, wanting to be, not only a good developer, but good neighbors, and to integrate themselves into the community in a very significant way, Your Worship. So I wanted to just reiterate and bring those issues that maybe weren't mentioned. I wanted to bring those to the table as well. I see a developer that really wants to work with the city of Charlottetown and be as proactive and as productive as they possibly can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So we have to call the question.
Councillor Ramsey wanted to speak.
Jason, or Councillor,
if you can see me, Jason, or not, can you?
I can. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I just wanted to, Mitchell hit the right nail there, that they're going to go with an agreement and everything along that line, and they want to work with the city, and I have no problems with that. I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready now, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Okay, so Councillor Twill, in favor or opposed?
Your Worship, so if I vote in favor of the resolution, that means I'm voting against the development, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm against the resolution because it's opposed to the development, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, I'm opposed.
Okay. Councillor Yankoff?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Councillor Rivard?
Opposed.
Councillor Durand?
Opposed.
Councillor Bernard?
Opposed.
Councillor Duffy?
Councillor Duff, you have to unmute.
Oh, Councillor Duffy?
No, you're still muted, Councillor Duffy.
Okay?
Yes, you're on now.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, reject, I'm, in favor.
In favor. Thank you. Councillor Ramsey?
Councillor Ramsey, you have to unmute. Councillor Ramsey, you have to unmute.
I just did, sorry about that. I'm opposed.
You're opposed. Okay. So the motion is lost with Councillor Duffy in favor. So it's 6 opposed
So
with Councillor McLeod and Mayor Brown in a conflict, and Councillor McCabe's not here.
did you call Councillor Durand and Councillor Rivard?
I do have them, and they're both opposed. Is that correct?
Councillor Rivard, go ahead. You want to speak?
Yeah, I was going to put a motion forward to accept with the development agreement in place.
So I have to
I
read.
second it.
So I do have to read it over again, if I could, please.
Okay.
So it's be that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from industrial to commercial, and amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning development bylaw from the business park industrial M3 zone to the highway commercial C2 zone in order to construct 2 separate apartment buildings that will result in a total of 186 apartment units on the property located at Lot 18-2, Sherwood Road, PID 455642, be approved through development agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Is there any comments on this new resolution?
Question called.
Okay. Questions called. Councillor Tweel?
In favor?
Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Bernard? Or Councillor Durand, sorry.
In favor?
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
Councillor Duffy, you have to unmute. Councillor Duffy, you have to unmute.
Great button.
You're still muted, Councillor.
How's that?
You're good?
Hey, oh, jeez. Oh, I never touched anything.
How do you vote, Councillor?
Famous last words. Oh, opposed.
Opposed. Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
In favor. So the motion is carried
6-1.
6. That's right. 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Kelly, we could probably bring the mayor and Councillor McLeod back in. Is
Yes, we'll try to bring them back in. We'll check next door for the mayor. We're back on, Your Worship.
In the meantime, Councillor Duffy, if you want to go on to your next resolution, just to keep the process going.
Okay. The next, number 5 is the update on Craig Drive, Norwood Road. As we all know that this was on the agenda last term, a month ago. At that time, the council asked Mr. McLeod if he would take his plan back and incorporate some of the amendments that some of the people in that area would like. Specifically on McCrae Drive, there's some people living there in R1 style homes. They had some plans to put R2 on that particular stretch. People in the R1 homes weren't appreciative of that, so they asked if Mr. McLeod would reconsider that. He went away and came back, and he has granted that request. So it's back here. I think everything that was done by Mr. McLeod, that was asked of Mr. McLeod, has been done. So it's just a matter, I think, of rereading the resolution, and that'll be it.
Okay,
Thank you,
you.
Councillor.
Okay.
So, Mr. Kelly, do you want to read the resolution?
And yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, that the request to rezone a portion of the vacant property located on the corner of McCrae Drive and Norwood Road, PID 192401, from the single detached residential R1L zone to the low density residential R2 zone with the existing single detached R1L zoning retained on all lots fronting on McCrae Drive be approved.
Okay, Councillor Duffy, do you want to add anything, sir?
No, that's fine. Okay.
Any questions?
Questions called.
Questions called. Okay. Councillor Yankoff?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
In favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor?
Councillor Tweel?
In favor.
Councillor Verd?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody? Yay?
In favor for me, Your Worship.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
9-0. Okay, so the next is the first readings. For the first reading is McCrae Drive, Norwood.
Yes.
You want to read that up there, Mr. Kelly?
And yes, Worship. So it's the Zoning and Development Bylaw PHZD.2 to adopt Bylaw PH-ZD.2040, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw to rezone a portion of the vacant property located on the corner of McCrae Drive and Norwood Road, PID 192401, from the single detached residential R1L zone to the low density residential R2 zone. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw PHZD.2040 as it pertains to the vacant property located at the corner of McCrae Drive and Norwood Road, PID 192401, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Duffy, by second by Councillor Yankoff.
Okay, shall it pass?
Yes.
Any contrary? None. 9-0.
Your Worship.
Councillor, again, you changed that to Councillor Yankoff?
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Building Code Bylaw PH-BC.3 to adopt the bylaw PH-BC.3, a bylaw to repeal the Building Code Bylaw PH-BC.2, adopted on November 1st, 2018, and replace it with the attached Building Code Bylaw PH-BC.3. Be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Building Code Bylaw PHBC.3 as attached be read the first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
Okay, and I'm just looking for the part. Okay. Shall it pass?
Pass. Pass.
Pass.
No one contrary? Okay. Okay, Mr. Kelly?
Second
I got
reading,
that down too.
Second reading, Your Worship, whereas the
Go
bylaw...
with number 2, corner of Powers Road and Mount Everett Road.
No.
This is
Oh, sorry.
505
Oh,
Malpeck
505.
Road.
Your Worship, just 1 second, Councillor Tweel. So second reading for 505 Malpeck Road. Okay. Tweel, did you have a question?
Are you moving now into second reading on Sherwood Crossing?
No, it's 505 Market Road.
Okay.
Your Worship, whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PH-ZD.2041 as pertains to a portion of the properties at 505 Malpark Road, PID 145466, and Patriot Lane, PID 676213 and 1117167, as attached, was read and approved a first time on November 9th, 2020. Be it therefore resolved that the said bylaw be read a second time and approved. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff.
Okay, shall it pass?
No.
Pass.
No.
So, Councillor Tweel and Deputy Mayor Cody opposed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, 7-2.
Be resolved that the said bylaw be adopted. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
Okay, shall it pass?
No.
No.
No. Deputy Mayor Cody? No. 7-2. Okay. So, Councillor Tweel, we're going to. Do you have your agenda there, Councillor Tweel, for the planning?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we're going to number 2 now. So he has to read it off. He has to read it off first. Is this second reading, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, it is, Your Worship, so there's no debate.
There's no debate on it.
Your Worship.
Go ahead.
It might be true that there's no debate, but I'd like to move a deferral. For the purpose of the deferral, you've all read the email correspondence, particularly today and over the weekend. In fact, in recent weeks, I think it would be more advantageous for the community. The residents live in Mount Edward Road in the McQuaid development and Ash Drive. I think it would be advantageous if we were to go to the public meeting that we plan on going to with the traffic study, whether it's the master plan or the local plan, questions about infrastructure and who's paying for the infrastructure. There's a lot of anxiety in the community, and the community's looking to have some discussions and clarification with this particular development and the impact on all those following amenities. So I'm going to move a deferral, Your Worship. I'm hoping for a seconder to give the people in this community an opportunity to come and view the development, look at who's paying for the infrastructure costs, as well as the impact and effect of the master traffic plan and the local traffic plan. I believe, sir, that we owe it to the residents. This is not an unreasonable request. You've read the emails now for the past several weeks. They've been consistent. They're adamant. They want to have that opportunity to have those discussions, ask those questions. So that is the rationale, that is the motivation.
Mr. Kelly, can you shed any light on the second reading and a deferral? I thought we covered this at the last meeting.
So it can be deferred, but it has to be put on the record first, so I need to read the motion in, and then council can deal with it from there, Your Worship.
But if you read the motion, there is no discussion.
That's correct, Your Worship. And it's so, not, he doesn't wish to debate it, Your Worship. He wishes to defer the decision to a future date.
Okay. So do you want to read it?
Yes, Your Worship.
And just before we do that, Councillor Duffy, do you have any questions or issues?
I have no, go ahead, whatever it takes. I didn't think anybody could speak during this period of time.
That's why I asked, and that's, Mr. Kelly didn't read the second reading. Now that he reads, there's no debate, correct, Mr. Kelly?
So when you put it on, Your Worship, that's correct. There is no debate. What you will have to do first, though, is to vote on Councillor Mitchell's motion if there's a seconder for the motion, Your Worship.
Okay, so Councillor Tweel has moved a deferral on the second reading.
Your Worship, Your Worship, just a point of process. You need to put the motion on the floor first, and then Councillor Tweel would then bring forth his motion, which would then need to be seconded, and then go from there, Your Worship.
Okay, read it, please. please.
Your Worship, whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning development bylaw, PH-ZD.2034, as pertains to Mount Edward Road, PID 390534, 390559, and 390542, as attached, was read and approved a first time on November 9th, 2020. Be it resolved that the said bylaw be read a second time and approved. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
So we're going to entertain the resolution for deferral.
Your Worship, can I speak to the deferral?
I move to deferral.
Just 1 second. 1 second. Moved. Seconded by who? Councillor Rivard, you seconded it?
No, I'm not seconding. I want to speak to it. I want to second it.
All right. Who's going to second?
I will.
Ron. Okay, so the deferral is moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor Durant, and let's open the debate. Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Here's my concern. I get Councillor saying about the residents, but here's my concern. And Councillor Duffy alluded to this earlier, is that they're two totally separate issues. So we approved a development based on a traffic study and being done and all that, and then we have this other study that's being done, which is again separate from. So what happens if council decides to change its decision after hearing from the public on a study that was sanctioned by the city that is totally separate from something already passed by council? That is my concern, because again, council already passed the Sherwood side. That has nothing to do with this master traffic. So my question.
So Councillor Duffy, could you just please reiterate what you said at the beginning of this of your report about the studies?
What I said was we had 2 traffic studies done in the recent past. One was commissioned by the developer of Sherwood Crossing. That person arranged for that. They paid for it. They have it. I believe I wasn't in this position at the time, but I believe shared it with anyone who wanted to see it. It's their property, and they have a lot at stake with that subdivision. The second one is the master traffic plan, and that is commissioned by the City of Charlottetown, and it's for the area that I described earlier. It's a large area out in Sherwood, and we want to know what's going on in the future, right up to, I believe it's 2041. And we have CBCL, the engineering firm, has done that for us. It has nothing to do with the sanction or the permission or the approval of Sherwood Crossing. It's totally separate and distinct, any more than the Charlottetown Mall has something to do with it, any more than Stone Park School has anything to do with it. It's just a working document for this council and future councils to do the right thing when it comes to development and the concern with traffic. We would have that on file by people that are professionals in that field. Somehow the word got out that the approvals for either anything in the future, be it Connector Road, be it the Sherwood Crossing, be it, you name it, would be subjected or have to pass the mustard with this master traffic plan, which is furthest from the truth. It's a tool to be used by this council and further councils to try to make the right decisions at the right time. And it has nothing to do with approvals and whatever. And we've talked about a second public meeting. It's not allowed. It is not allowed. You might as well whistle Dixie. It's not allowed. Thank you, Bishop.
Okay, and Councillor Duffy, just to follow up on that first report, it is on the website for APM. I know I did send it to a resident in Sherwood. So the full study's there. The MTS, that will be presented when? In the new year?
In the new year at a public meeting, that's all there is to it. But there's rumor mill out there that perpetrates these things. Anyway.
Councillor Rivard, can I just let Councillor Tweel speak first, because he did have his hand. Councillor Rivard and then Yankoff. Councillor Tweel? On mute. No, on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, there. The traffic studies are part and parcel and are truly relevant to the development itself, as well as infrastructure. Who's paying for the infrastructure through the development that'll eventually connect to Mount Edward Road? There are many questions. People, I'm going to reiterate once again, people live in Ash Drive, people live in Mount Edward Road, people that live in the McQuaid development are asking questions. And before we approve second reading, I believe the best interest of the community, whether you're in favor of the development or you're opposed to the development, let's go to a public meeting. Let's put all the facts on the table so that the community can become truly informed. Right now, the community is not informed, and this is a substantial development that's going to have an impact and effect on the people that live in this community, some of them for 50, 60, 70 years. This is not an unreasonable request. And when we went to the public meeting back at the Rods Royalty Inn, we did not say we were going to be paying, the taxpayers are going to be paying for the infrastructure. I don't recall that. If that's true, then fine. But I don't recall that we said, as a council, we were going to be making a commitment to be paying for infrastructure, any type of infrastructure. So to suggest that we had a public meeting, I said all along, and I've been consistent, that public meeting was truly incomplete because not all the cards were put on the table.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
So let's go to a public meeting in January, put all the information out there, let's have a well-advertised meeting so the community will become better informed, and we'll be better informed as a council when we vote in second reading.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Twill, Councilor Rivard, and then Councilor Yankoff.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So just two quick things. One to Councilor Twill's comment and back to Councilor Duffy's comments. Councilor Duffy's right. You can't go back to a public meeting with regards to Sherwood Crossing. So again, you can't blur the two applications. But secondly, and maybe most importantly, is the fact that not once did council agree to put a road from Spencer to Ash. That is part and parcel of something totally different. Right now, the applicant has a road that comes in off Spencer that leads into a subdivision. He's over a piece of land to the city that in the future, if the city decides to put the infrastructure in place, that's a possibility, but that should be discussed in a public meeting. When we look at the master plan, that's when that conversation takes place. It shouldn't be blurred with this application right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Yankoff? Just on you, please.
Yeah, no, I did. Give me a second. Yeah. Worship. Just to reiterate some of the thoughts here, and although I totally see that Councillor Twill has some frustration around it, the part that frustrates me the most is that if we hadn't had some public PSAs out there in the past, we wouldn't be probably with this right now. And I think that, I can't blur the two. I'm in support of Sherwood Crossing, so I will support the second reading. But what I do caution us as a city is that we should be informing the public before they have to come and ask us these questions. And we've talked about this over the last month. Where's the PSAs? Where's the information out to the residents of Charlottetown so that they know what's happening with this overarching city traffic plan that we're discussing? So, that's the only part that I would reiterate is that we need to keep informing the public better than we're doing. Thank you.
You have to unmute, Your Worship.
Councilor McLeod, did you raise your hand? No. Okay. Okay. Call for the vote. Question?
I just have a comment, Your Worship.
Oh, go right ahead there, Councilor Bernard.
I just want to remind, this is second reading, correct?
Yes, sir.
And first reading is for all kinds of discussion on it, and to me, all this discussion probably should have happened during first reading. We would have had more of an opportunity to do something.
Councilor Bernard, this discussion is just on the deferral. When we go back to the second reading, there is no discussion. This is just a deferral. That's why I got it clarified from Mr. Kelly and I think Karen Campbell. So it's just a deferral.
My point is, we already went through first reading. It was 7-3 in agreement. And here we're talking about the same thing again. I think there would have been lots of opportunity during first reading. That's when we could speak on it, to speak on the issue.
Okay.
Now we're looking to defer to speak on the issue again. That's all. That's my only point.
Thank you. Councillor Twill, this is your second time. On you, please. on mute. On mute. You're muted.
Sorry, Councillor Bernard, I have been bringing up these points consistently. We did have an opportunity after first reading to go to a public meeting, and that's why I'm renewing that request again. There's a lot of frustration in the community. The community wants to know what's taking place with respect to the traffic study, but equally importantly and more importantly, who's paying for the infrastructure. The community wants to know that, and I've been consistent right from day one. I mean, even before first reading, I was sending emails in asking for a public meeting because I felt, quite honestly, the first meeting that we had, it was incomplete. That first meeting was incomplete.
Yeah, thank you. And Councillor Duffy, could you sum up?
Yeah, I just like to say, you didn't have an opportunity to go to a public meeting at the first reading, Councillor Twill. You didn't have an opportunity at all. That's not true. Let's have the vote on the resolution. Let's move on.
Yeah, so you've called the question?
Yes, question, please.
Okay. Councillor Yankup, yay or nay for the deferral?
I vote against the deferral.
Okay. Councillor Duffy, yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay. Councillor Duran, yay or nay?
Favor.
Yes?
Favor of the deferral.
Councillor Twill, yay or nay? Councillor Twill, you have to unmute.
In favor of the deferral.
Yes, okay. Councillor Rivard.
I'm opposed because I think that it goes against the process.
Councillor Bernard.
You have to unmute, Councillor.
Opposed for the same reason.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
Opposed.
Councillor McLeod.
Opposed.
6-3 against the deferral. Okay, second reading, can you
So
read
just
it now, sir?
you have to ask the question, does it pass, Your Worship? Then we'll go to the final stage.
Yep. Okay, did you want to read it?
It was already read in, Your Worship. You asked him, does it pass?
Okay, sorry. Shall it carry?
Pass.
Pass.
No, you have to have a vote, Your Worship.
That's what we're doing. Shall it carry? We're going through the vote. Councillor Yankup, yay.
Carry.
Councillor Duffy, yay.
Yay.
Councillor Duran?
No.
Councillor Twill?
No.
Councillor Rivard?
Yay.
Councillor McLeod?
Yes.
Councillor Ramsey?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cody? No. And Councillor Bernard?
Yay.
Be resolved, Your Worship, that the said bylaw be adopted. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Just 1 second. 6-3. Opposed. Okay. Is that it for your report,
No,
Councillor Duffy?
sorry, Your Worship, there is one more. There is one more first reading, Your Worship.
Got the reading with McCrae Drive?
With regards to Lot 18, that's 2 Sherwood Road, Your Worship.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, I'm in conflict, so Deputy Mayor Cody has to take over, correct?
Yes, Your Worship.
And Councillor McLeod has to
Vacate,
too.
vacate as well, Your Worship, yes.
Just 1 second. Just give us a second.
So if I could, Deputy Mayor, I'll put it on the floor.
Yes, please.
Official plan PHOPA.1 to adopt the official plan amendment PHOPA 1-019, the land use for the property located at 18-2 Sherwood Road, PID 455642, as shown on Appendix A, future land use map of the City of Charlottetown official plan, is designated as commercial, hereby excluding it from its former designation of industrial. Be resolved that the official plan amendment PHOPA .1019 as pertains to Lot 18-2 Sherwood Road, PID 455642 as attached be adopted. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay.
You just have to say, shall it pass, Your Worship?
Seeing none, shall it pass? Those opposed?
Be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PH-ZD.2042, as it pertains to lot 18-2 Sherwood Road, PID 455642, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councilor Duffy, second by Councilor Yankoff.
Shall it carry? Those opposed? Can we get Mayor Brown in? Is that it, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay. In the meantime, we can move on to environment and sustainability just to keep the agenda flowing.
Jason, just could I interrupt for 1 sec, please, just to finish up? I'd just like to wish all members of council and their families, all of the staff at City Hall, all a Merry Christmas and very Happy New Year. We've had a rough time of it. We've had 9 months of ups and downs and sideways, and we stuck together through it all. So I hope everybody has a great break, has a good rest, finds a good book to read, and just takes it easy over the season. Enjoy your families. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duffy. Okay, then we go to the next agenda item, and I think this is Councilor Tweel, Environment and Sustainability. Councilor Tweel, do you want to start off, sir?
Yes, I would. I want to, first of all, thank Ramona for providing me with a synopsis to be able to bring to council, to be able to read it. The highlights begin with the monthly transit ridership for November 2020 was 35,071 compared to October 2019 when ridership was 67,699, 240. Transit is currently maintaining about 52% of its normal ridership. Monthly ridership from high school participants in the student transit project was 739. The City of Charlottetown has applied to the province's Climate Challenge Fund. If successful, the project titled Resilient Homes, Parks, and People will work with homeowners to mitigate flood risk associated with climate change and host a speakers series for residents and contractors that operate within the Charlottetown boundaries, and host a public educational presentations on preparedness for the impacts of climate change. Additionally, a green infrastructure installation will be constructed by City Parkland to help handle increased rainfall and serve as a demonstration site for green stormwater management. This fund covers 70% of the project and expenses for municipalities with a maximum contribution of $100,000. The Charlottetown Food Council conducted 4 virtual community conversations about food in late November and early December. These events were intended to engage members of the community, conversations about the food system, as well as to gain feedback on the Food Council's newly created food asset map. The feedback gleaned through these consultations will be compiled and integrated into the asset map, aiming for a public launch of the map in early 2021. Excuse me. And the Better Homes Neighborhood Energy Project, a collaboration between the City of Charlottetown and Efficiency PEI, wrapped up in October. This pilot project supported 40 homes in the Sherwood neighborhood in the transition to using less energy. A final report on the project will be completed in 2022. That will include measurement of the individual and neighborhood level energy savings and greenhouse gas emissions reductions associated with the program. Mr. Mayor, that is my summation. The report is in your package. I'll do my best, and most certainly if I can't, Ramona Doyle's with us here tonight to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tweel. Did you want to add anything there, Ramona? You just have to unmute.
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Your Worship.
So, Councillor, any questions?
Can I have one question, Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Drawn. Yes.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Tweel. I just know over the last month or two, there was some discussion about charging stations. I don't know if they came up to your committee so quick in the last month or so, but I just know I was reading the criteria for it, and I believe the Sherwood Elementary School, the Cody Banks Arena, and the Sherwood Community Center, it would make a great area for one of those charging stations in that area. And I just wanted to put that out to you. So when your discussions begin, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Those are very good recommendations. We will bring them back to the committee for consideration and to do an analysis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do, Your Worship.
Councillor McLeod, go right ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Trio, for your report. When we look into the inside of our with Councillor Duran's suggestion, what class of charging units are we looking at for those particular areas?
You need to unmute, Councillor.
Can you be a little more specific?
Well, I mean, depending on where we're at, there's charges that will have to be faster than others. I'm just wondering, decided yet on what have we earmarked certain areas of the city for faster charges?
I'm sorry, Councillor McLeod, you broke up there. Can you please repeat that?
Okay, so there's class 2 and there's class 3 chargers.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so depending on how busy the city is and where we want to put them, the class 2s are more expensive than class 2s. So have we determined yet where we're going to put them?
Rhoda, can you help me with that, please?
Sure, Your Worship and Council McLeod. So we have been talking about, for the first round where we have the funding through NRCan, those are all level 2 chargers. So those are a slower charge, but they're less expensive.
Okay.
To add whether we would include some, is the sound not good right now?
No, it's Ramona. I'm just asking people. You have to, like Councillor Yankoff, some others have their buttons muted. Your sound. It's just we're picking up everything that you're doing. So if you're not speaking, please mute. Ramona, can you continue? Just start over, please.
Certainly. So, Councillor McLeod had asked about what level of charges we're doing. So our first round of funding we had through NRCan, and those were only for level 2 chargers. So they do take a little longer to charge, but they're less expensive than a level 3. Going forward, we would want to be really strategic about anywhere we put a level 3 because they are in sort of the $30,000 to $50,000 range, whereas we can do a regular level 2 charger for about 10. So at this point, we would be still looking for the majority of level 2s and maybe a couple level 3s going forward. But again, those original 18 chargers are all level 2s. That's what was approved through NRCan.
Right. So thanks for clarifying that, because it's important that we know going forward that these chargers, you're not going to plug in there for an hour, right? It's a 3 or 4 or 5 hour adventure, depending on where you're at in your battery life. But I just thought I'd bring this up and got a good answer from you, so that there is, and the trouble with the class 3 chargers as well is the technology is changing so fast that the class 3 charger, which we think is the Cadillac, within a couple of years is not going to. So the car and the battery is so much. So I just felt important to explain that why don't we just have class 3 chargers? Well, because class 3s cost a lot of money, and within 2 years they're out of date. They're no longer a top. We have on these chargers, and you clarified that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Councillor Bernard.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify something there that Terry said. My understanding was, so the class 3s remote are $50,000 each. They charge in something like an hour, whereas the class 2 are $10,000 each, but it takes like 4 hours to charge. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's 20 minutes to an hour for the level threes. And then, yes, like you said, it's a longer, but most of the time what we're looking for in this network is more of a top up. So maybe somebody plugs in for 45 minutes while they do a shopping trip or while they're at an activity, but they're topping up their battery rather than it being like coming in empty and charging.
Right. So, if memory serves me right, we were looking to install about 18 chargers around the city. And I think some of the conversation was depending where they go. Like you're right, like as Councillor Duran said, one in front of Cody Banks hockey rink. So you're probably an hour and a half is going to be a pretty good charge for that person topping up. Have we talked about any of the level threes anywhere? Because I think it's not the level 3 technology I'd be worried about falling behind. It's the level 2. So we will be spending a lot of money on level 2s, which we know that's I believe a 4 or 5 hour charge. So have you people come up with recommendations where the 18 charges are going to go? And on that, I wonder if there's any consideration for doing, say, 15 charges on level 2 and 3 level 3s.
So, Your Worship, the 18 that we have through the NRCan funding application, those we don't have an option to change them to a level 3. So that funding's already been approved. We do still have some option to make adjustments to the final location. So we have them all going in. We all want them to be at city facilities or on public right of way. So that they would be sort of for us, for our residents and visitors. I think going forward, we could certainly look at level 2s and level 2s, a combination. I will clarify that sustainability works with Public Works on this. So the actual charger infrastructure right now for those 18 is within the Public Works budget. Just want to make that clear too.
Councillor Bernard?
What was that again? Sorry?
It's just taken a long time, agreements and everything. But our contribution, the city's contribution to that is within the Public Works budget, not sustainability's budget. But I'm just clarifying that going forward, it could be put either budget.
So, and that funding was contingent on using level 2 then?
It was a project that included municipalities across PEI, and Maritime Electric was the lead on that. And that application at that time was for level 2 chargers only. They do have a stream that supports level 3. We applied for that as well, but we weren't successful in that application. But we'll continue to apply when the opportunity presents itself.
Thank you.
Councillor Bernard, down in front of Maritime Electric on Kent Street, they have a charger, and I think that's a station or number 2. Class 2, but if you go to Ardgowan, they have 3 Tesla chargers, and they have a converter that you can use to charge, let's say, a Chev electric car. And if you go to the PEI Brewing Company, they have 2 there also, but I think they're the level 2. So they're starting to show up all around the city,
which is great. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor McLeod, did you have another question? You're all right?
I do have a question. So Ramona, we are going to pursue the Class 3 charges, though, at some point to funding.
Yeah.
The next round,
It would be our intention anytime those funding applications come up, we're applying whenever we're eligible. But it is something we can look at for the capital budget for this coming year if the city wants to either put money to buy solely on our own or put it money in the hope that we can find matching funding from the source.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ramona. And Councillor Tweel, did you have a question? You have to unmute. You're on mute.
Okay, thank you very much, Ramona. So the actual application is being administered through Public Works, or Public Works is installing these devices throughout the city. Is that correct?
Ramona?
So the Public Works, we had to make a contribution to the overall project. So NRCan covered our funding, and we covered the remaining funding. So the contribution to that funding agreement is within the public works budget. But Scott and I have been working closely with Maritime Electric. They're the project coordinator, and they're coordinating the installs of all these chargers. So we're not, our public works will probably do some painting of this after we install it, as well as traffic review, but we're more providing in-kind staff support, not the actual install.
Thank you.
Councillor Tweel, thank you for your report. Ramona, thank you. Can we move on to strategic priorities and intergovernmental cooperation, SPIC, and that's with Councillor Ramsey. Turn off your mute. Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met December 3rd. The minutes are in your package. The Affordable Housing Advisory Committee did not meet since last council. The Youth Engagement Advisory Committee did not meet since last council. There are no resolutions for your consideration. There's a notice of motion to amend the procedural bylaw is attached. Any questions? We'll be willing to answer.
Any questions for Councillor Ramsey? Councillor Bernard?
No questions on his minutes, but I'd like to say that I don't know if you people could.
From Sports PEI?
That's the Ramsey gang.
The Ramsey gang, yeah.
The Ramsey family.
I have a question.
Councillor McLeod?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey, for your report. Just in your minutes there, I see where you've made a decision on capital cities organization. And
so we're breaking up, Councillor McLeod.
Okay, I'm doing my best here. How's that?
Sorry.
So anyway, the Capital Commission's organization, so the Council Advisory had appointed the chair of Intergovernmental Affairs, right, to go to the capital cities committee. So before not that Councillor Trio couldn't do the job or anything, but before it goes that far, it should go back to Council Advisory, and maybe Councillor Yankoff could second that or confirm that, as she is the chair of that. But that should go back to Council Advisory first before we make another appointment if you decided not to do it.
Yes. To bring you up to date on that, that's all it was is that, as Councillor Yankoff stated in her last report, that she was involved in it, and then it was under our group. So what we did is that I asked her to finish up that last meeting, and then I would take it back to our group and see if there's anybody would like to sit on that board, and which we did last week. And it was a 3-0 vote in favor of Councillor Tweedle, and that's where it went right from there.
And it is going back to the CAC, Councillor.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it is. It is going back to the CAC for approval.
Because there is certain credentials to that position, right? That all candidates must be made sure, and going back to Council Advisory, it then gets opened up to whoever else might want to be on it, right? Just not somebody, right?
Councillor McLeod, CAC will have to change that. It was to go to the chair.
Right. That's right.
So I have to make that change. Councillor Yankoff, I don't know if you're throwing the ball at Steve or whoever, but did you want to add something there? Did Steve catch it?
If anyone's wondering about this, I have a wiener dog, and I'm throwing the ball constantly while I'm here. But just to echo what Councillor McLeod and Councillor Ramsey said, yes, there is absolutely no issue with the recommendation for Councillor Tweel. I think we just have to look at the original resolution stated that the position for the capital cities board rep was the chair of intergovernmental and strategic priorities. So if it is going to be Councillor Tweel, we just have to look at that in Council Advisory to modify the resolution, or, so I'm just echoing what everyone else has said. So it will go back to Council Advisory, and then we can advise Council.
Thank you. Just keep throwing the ball at Steve. Okay.
Question.
You notice a motion there?
I have one question, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Duran, is it?
Yes, it is, sir.
Yeah. The phantom participant. Yes, go ahead.
Thank
Phantom
you.
Participant.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Ramsey. I'm not sure if this goes here or not, but I'm just going to ask a question. I've been getting a couple of emails and calls about safe injection sites. I know that the city hasn't, we haven't been involved as far as I know as of right yet. I'm just wondering if we can put that on our agenda to look at what we can do for that type of help for the communities. I know I haven't talked about it or I haven't asked about it, but I'm just asking you here if we can start a discussion on our next meeting.
Good.
Thank you for that, Councillor Drawn. We are meeting tomorrow at noon for a few minutes, as you know, and why don't we just bring that up and then we see which department that should fall under. As far as I know, it's under the province and then it goes under the police and all that, but we'll get the information tomorrow and we'll have that discussion. Is that okay?
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bernard, question for Councillor Ramsey?
No, it's just a comment that come up here about the advisory committee, and I've always been wondering why there's no terms of reference for the advisory committee. So I'm just wondering where the advisory committee gets their jurisdiction. There's no terms of reference.
It's Mr. Kelly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it in the procedural bylaw?
That's correct, Your Worship.
What
so
section?
No terms of reference to be drawn up for the advisory committee.
All we do is appoint members of council or members of the community to advisory boards or standing committees. And what section is that under, Council, Mr. Kelly?
Just a second, Your Worship.
Because I recall when it was set up, it was set up the standing committees.
And advisory boards.
Extend it to the other. That's fine. I just wanted to see something where it has terms of reference.
Well, we could bring that up at the next meeting there, Councillor.
Every once in a while we hear, take that to the advisory committee, take that to the advisory committee.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to creep into other committees' jurisdiction.
Yeah, good point.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
you know what?
It's under section 42, Your Worship.
That's a great point, Councillor Bernard.
We'll take it up.
Your Worship?
Thank you.
Councillor Tweel?
I would like to reiterate what Councillor Bernard said as well. It just seems like every time you turn around, it's got to go to the advisory committee. When standing committees do, I believe, have the authority to make recommendations, whether it be by resolution or whatever the case may be. So I'm not so sure why everything has to be vetted through the advisory board committee. I'm not too sure why that needs to happen.
Councillor Yankoff?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Tweel. I think that I know that I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves because we're in a different committee report right now, but I do tend to agree with you. Perhaps this is something that in the next Council Advisory Committee meeting that we put on the agenda to actually look.
Okay. Do we have a notice of motion?
And yes, Your Worship. Your Worship, notice of motion to amend the procedural bylaw, amend section 11, special meeting of council. Council shall set a fixed time, a date for the special meetings of council. Council shall hold a special meeting of council every fourth Monday of the month. And number 2 amendment is amend section 11, subsection 1.5 from 11.5, subject to section 30 of this bylaw regarding quorum at a special meeting of the council. The council shall only consider or decide upon the matters set forth in the notice calling the special meeting unless all the members present at the meeting unanimously consent to deal with other matters. And it will be brought to no business other than that stated in the notice shall be transacted at a special meeting unless all members are present and unanimously agree to deal with other matters. And that's just a notice of motion, Worship.
It's just a notice, so there's no discussion.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's just a notice, just take a look at it, and when we do the first reading, we'll go through the discussion. Okay, finance.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee did not meet. We dealt with some issues through email. We are meeting Wednesday of this week. We did review a couple of resolutions that will come up a little later on here in the package, and next month we're looking to put forward the procedural bylaw, an updated one. With that, there's no resolutions under finance, but if there's any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Any questions? Councillor Bernard?
No, I'm good.
Any questions?
Your Worship?
Is that Councillor Tweedle?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead, sir.
Deputy Mayor, thank you for your report. Last month, when we had the discussion regarding the purchase or the sale of the land to Rod's Royally Inn, reference was made that the property was appraised, and we decided on a price. The question I have is, I don't know if you can give it to me tonight, Deputy Mayor, is can you tell me, excuse me, the year and the month when the appraisal of that property had taken place?
Yeah,
Mr. Kelly
don't have that information right in front of me, but I can certainly get it for you.
Mr. Kelly, do you have that information?
No, Your Worship. We'll have to go back and dig through the files.
It's not that long ago, right?
No, Your Worship.
Okay.
Well, just to follow up, Mr. Mayor, did the appraisal take place, say, in the last 3 or 4 months?
Mr. Kelly?
No, Your Worship.
3 or 4 months?
No, Your Worship.
Okay. No. Any other questions?
No idea.
Yeah, he'll find that out, and we'll get that back to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's it. Deputy Mayor, good.
It is, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Yankoff or Steve?
I don't have a question.
No report. Any questions? Okay, great. And Protective and Emergency Services Committee. Councillor Rivard.
Wait a second. I didn't know you were asking about my report. I thought you were
resources. You no
else.
report. We'll go back. Stop throwing the ball and just stay focused here.
I am focused, Your Worship.
Do you want to give us a...
Yes, I do actually. So the Human Resources and Committee and Communications Administration Committee, we did not meet this month. However, we did circulate some information that we're reviewing on the work from home policy, and we'll be bringing that back to council in the new year. And other than that, there's no resolutions for consideration, but if there's any questions in terms of my committee, I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Councillor Ramsey has a question. Kevin, you have to unmute.
There we go. Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. When it comes to working from home for our staff and everything along this line, there's so many different rules and regulations like federal, provincial, and municipality. Whose line do we follow? Our own, or do we follow the province, or do we follow the feds?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Ramsey. I don't have an answer for that, and Bethany's not here today, so I will defer that to Mr. Kelly, because I think there's a lot of moving parts, which is why it's just in a working process. But Mr. Kelly, if you can answer Councillor Ramsey.
So, Your Worship, what we're doing is that, as the chair indicated, we are developing a policy now that will be established by council, and so ultimately council will decide.
Yeah, and I know for closures because of snowstorms, we follow the province, do we not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Anyways,
hours, in your summer hours, in your winter hours, and all that. I understand that, but we're in weird times here the last 9 months, 10 months, and I just wondered if we go by our own leader or do we follow the province or the feds? That's all.
Okay. We'll clarify that. Great.
Okay, thank you,
Councillor Yankoff. Any other questions? Okay, we can move on. Thank you, Councillor Yankoff. Councillor Rivard.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. I'll keep Brief Protective and Emergency Services Committee met on November 24th. The minutes are in your package. There's 2 resolutions for consideration for tonight. And again, I already said my thank yous to the police and fire department for their work in the parade. So if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Your Worship.
Go ahead there, Councillor Twill.
Councillor Rivera, thank you for your report. I wanted to discuss a couple of items. One is the amount of police officers that we have here in the city of Charlottetown. As I understand it, we are 17 police officers under the national standard. So I think we're going to have to make some inroads when it comes to police officers out in the neighborhoods and communities, whether it's the reintroduction of a new traffic unit, foot patrols in the downtown, more drug enforcement, regardless of what the responsibilities and assignments are. It's my understanding that we are 17 under the national standard. So if you could please take that back to your committee and do an analysis, and maybe we can have a discussion at a later date. Council can have that discussion. And the second item I wanted to bring to your attention tonight is, as we all know, the town of Cornwall is going to have a new RCMP headquarters being built in their respective municipality. Main Point Plaza, where the current Mountie Barracks is going to be leaving that location and moving to Cornwall. And I wanted to bring this to your attention, Councillor Rivera, that this might be a great opportunity for the city of Charlottetown to acquire that building for the Charlottetown Police Department. It could house a future traffic division, more police officers working out of that building, dedicating their services to the suburban communities. I think it'd be a great investment. I know that in our police department, it is tight quarters now. And, if we're looking to add more police officers, more resources, whatever equipment, whatever the case may be, I think that facility would be a great asset to the city of Charlottetown. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I think it'd be a great investment, and my request is for the department and yourself as the chair to explore that possibility. Thank you, sir.
Councillor Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Worship, and thank you, Councillor Tweel. I mean, good points. Again, not new information. The shortage of officers has been brought up in the past. Yeah, I said last month that this is, I need council to remember these conversations come budget time, because there's only one way to be able to bring in, or meet the national average and hire 17 new officers, if you will. It's budgetary. So if council has the appetite to raise the budget for police, then in that case, then we can hire additional officers who can have that traffic unit we're talking about. As for the building itself, again, not a bad idea, but it's going to be a budgetary item. And when that building becomes available, we'll have this AO. We'll give him direction to just what kind of price for it, if that's the appetite of council.
And just follow up, Your Worship. Just 1 second. Councillor Rivera, I just want to say that Chief Paul Smith and the deputies that do attend our meetings, they're giving us the information that we need. The force is one of the best east of Montreal. It does great work throughout the community. So, and I know you know that, and same as our firefighters, volunteers and full-time. So I think you're running a great committee in what we see on a day-to-day basis. Can I just go to Councillor Bernard first? He's been waiting. Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Worship, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. I just want confirmation from Councillor Rivera. Councillor Rivera, is it 17 below national average or 7?
17.
It is 17.
It is 17, yep.
Per population then, is it? Based on population?
Correct, that's what Deputy Brad McConnell had provided to us, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Second point there, Councillor Tweel.
Yes, Your Worship. I think we have one of the best police departments in North America, not just east of Montreal, but North America. So my point is, I want to be able to have the resources, whether it be human, with apparatus, whatever the case may be, to help our police department meet the challenges. I mean, the complexities that the police department is dealing with on a day-to-day basis is unprecedented. So one thing, Councillor Rivard, if you please look at the current budget and to see how maybe we can reallocate some of the funding for new police officers. And the other thing is, I see Fire Chief Randy McDonald there, and great work, Fire Chief McDonald. I'm just looking for an update on our new bylaw for the sprinklers.
Are you asking Councillor Rivard to get the chief to answer that? Are you?
Yes.
You're going for is that all right?
The chief of fire can answer that, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. You have to unmute there, Chief. No, you have to unmute.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
That's all right.
Your Worship, Councillor Tweel, we continually have discussions with industry as well as other city departments and utility and planning department. We met last week rather, and back and forth with legal. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're certainly moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy? Councillor Duffy and then Councillor McLeod. You have to unmute there, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Duffy, you have to unmute. You're muted. Councillor Duffy, can you read my lips? You're muted. No. Okay. Councillor.
Can I try to answer it? No, joking.
Yeah, I can go ahead then.
We're going to let Councillor McLeod go, and then we'll come back to you. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much, Worship. Great report, Councillor Rivard. To give the hats off to both police and fire for their great work with the Christmas parades. Just a question to go back to Mitchell's concern is the traffic division. It seemed to be on the phone constantly with Tim Kaiser for talk about traffic and speeding. So I don't know if we need 17 officers, but I certainly do think we need a crew of traffic division where they're writing tickets. I think putting up stop signs, speed bumps are helping, but it's not the true answer. And I think it's usually the same people doing the speeding on every street. So I think if you had a traffic division write tickets, that would stop. And I think that's our answer to all our problems within speeding within the city of Charlotte. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Duffy, are you on there with us?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hear you now. Yeah, just stay that way.
Can I just speak to Councillor McLeod's comments just quickly?
Sure, Ken. I don't want to lose Councillor Duffy again.
No, don't mute Councillor Duffy. Councillor McLeod, and I agree that the fact that we're down 17 officers, it's not as easy to reallocate assets or resources within the department. I mean, we're down 17, so it's a simple case of math. If we want a traffic unit to be added, then we're going to have to add resources. And again, if the appetite from council is there, then absolutely, let's do it. Because I think everyone here agrees that a traffic unit is beneficial and needed. But again, if we're already down 17 officers, it's going to be hard to reallocate what's already in there. And so anyways, budget time's coming, and I hope to get more.
I'm in.
Hey, Councillor Duffy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Keep going. Just you got to roll.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Rivard. Councillor Rivard, I think you're probably aware, I think you are, that a couple of months ago I put together a bit of a bar graph sort of presentation, and it has to do with where the police department sets up, for lack of a better term, across the city, and the fact that about 64 sites where they set up with their radar units to monitor traffic and slow
down. Don't share that chart with anybody.
Pardon?
I said, don't share that chart with anybody.
No, there's enough different places that no one could ever keep track of them. Anyway, it's a year-long track. It encompasses a year of data, and for each area, and there's some like out on a particular place on University Avenue. Man, oh man, the bar graph is almost off the top of the chart. So, and it's very beneficial because you can see of those 64 or 65 sites they set up, some are very productive, like I've just mentioned. Some would appear to a layperson who has never been in a police car as kind of a waste of time. This all leads me to the complaints that have been aired or voiced at various meetings in the last 4 or 5 months, 6 months, 2 years, from people south of Belvedere Avenue that we're not really getting the surveillance that we think we could use. And the purpose of the graph, the bar graph, is to show where maybe we're not using our resources to the best advantage. Anyway, all of that to say, I was hoping to have it to pass out tonight to the various members of staff, but I ran out of time, number one, and this setup of conversing or communicating this way is really not conducive to a handout. Everybody's all over Charlottetown. So what I'll do is I'll put it in each councillor's mailbox. Tomorrow morning we'll have the bar graph. It's a fairly physically a large document. It will have the backup data behind it, which produced the graph, and I'll put a short note on it just explaining what it is. The purpose of the whole thing is for your committee to take the bar graph and look at themselves and surmise or figure out what's going on and discuss, and maybe we could reallocate our sources across the city a little fairer or more efficiently or whatever. But I will have that in your mailbox by 10 o'clock, all your mailboxes by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay?
Councillor Roberts, just before you go, I need a resolution to extend the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's moved by Councillor Ramsey.
Yes.
Second by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor? Yay, 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 yay.
And that is to extend till the end of the agenda, Your Worship? Is that the intent?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, order out for some burgers and fries.
Jesus.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Councillor Revert, can you just continue on there, sir?
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Duffy, and we'll certainly take it back to the committee. But again, with some of these spots that you may be referring to, keep in mind too when there's concerns from councillors, they'll send emails or notes to the police department, and the police department will try to step up coverage in those areas. So what may seem kind of foolish, I guess, to some at the time or not strategic, some of those could be the fact that council is asking for stepped up a presence in certain streets or certain areas. So again, we will take it back though, and again, I don't want to step on the toes too much of the police department and the operations, but we'll certainly bring the information to them. And like I said, the chief is online, so he's listening to the debate, and we'll get back to you next month.
Just to add to that, Councillor Rivard, there's, like I say, about 65 spots, but there's about 58 of them north of Belvedere Avenue, and the other 7 are south of Belvedere Avenue. That's what
Sure.
what I'm hoping will be addressed.
Okay, yeah, we'll certainly do it.
Councillor Duffy, you've already sent that on to the chief and the deputies, correct? That graph?
No, I will make sure they have it. Yeah.
The two deputies and the chief. Okay.
Yeah. Got it.
That's it. We have two resolutions, Councillor Revert. We'll get Mr. Kelly to read off the first one.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Barrett and by Councillor Ramsey that the Public Works Manager be authorized to remove any derelict vehicles as determined under the Dangerous, Hazardous, and Unsightly bylaw by definition at the owner's expense on the property located at 224 East Royalty Road, PID 192484, in accordance with the terms of the Dangerous, Hazardous, and Unsightly bylaw, and further that the Public Works Manager be authorized to remove any materials or debris deemed garbage, clean up and properly dispose of same at the owner's expense on property located at 224 East Royalty, PID 192484, in accordance with the terms of the Dangerous, Hazardous, and Unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown.
Question?
Question called.
Okay. No? Did Councillor Duran say no? Okay. Questions called. Councillor Yankov, yay?
In favor.
Councillor Duffy?
Favor.
Councillor Duran?
In favor?
Councillor Twill? Councillor Twill? Nod your head. Okay. Councillor Rivard?
Yeah.
Councillor McLeod?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
9-0. Can you read the next one, Mr.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Ramsey, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any garbage and other materials or debris, clean up and properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense on the property located at 225 North River Road, PID 366724, in accordance with the terms and of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown, Your Worship.
Okay. Question called? Question called. Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
Favor.
Councillor Duran. Favor. Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Councillor Cody. Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
That's your report, Councillor Rivard?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Parks and Recreation is the next one. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, just before I get started, I just want to make a comment here, and I think it's probably the appropriate time. I just wanted to recognize the young adults between the ages of 20 and 29 who took the responsibility very seriously to go get tested when asked by our Chief Public Health Officer. I think the turnout was amazing. I think everybody was surprised at the turnout, and I think there was concern for not only themselves but for others. And I believe they need to be recognized for that, Your Worship. I mean, a lot of them went, and it wasn't just an hour or 2 hours. As we know, some of them were 5, 6, up to 7 hours wait to get tested. So just wanted to give a shout out to them and to thank them very much, because it's not just their health they're concerned about spreading it to anybody else.
Well said there, Councillor Bernard. Well said. Thank you.
Your Worship. So, Your Worship, our committee met December the 7th. The minutes are in your package. I do have some highlights, Your Worship, but first of all, I'm going to read the Volunteer of the Month, and that is Laurie Godfrey. So Laurie has been involved, Your Worship, with the Sherwood Parkhill Skating Club for the past 10 years. During her time with the club, Laurie held many roles, including test chair and president. She is currently treasurer and club administrator and holds the role of past president, so she's a busy lady. Even though Laurie's children have graduated from the skating program, she has dedicated many hours this past year to assist the president and new board members. So we'd like to congratulate Laurie on her recognition in December as Volunteer of the Month, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Your Worship, just some highlights from our Parks and Rec meeting. I know there was some conversations last year about dropping 2 rinks from 12 to 10. The staff tries to get up and running, and there was talk about dropping 2 of them and just doing 1 per ward. And I believe that came about with the concerns for lack of resources and expectations we had on our staff. So this season that was supposed to occur. Tell you as chair of this committee, I'm not really interested in reducing the outdoor ice surfaces. And I believe that the committee concurs with this from their conversation. I think that they would like to, we're not looking to close rinks, I guess. We're looking to basically increase them if we can. So, we'd be looking to partner with our residents to make this possible if we can. One of the obstacles to increasing outdoor ice surfaces is the resources allocated to the Parks and Rec budget. So we will be asking during the budget conversations to look to get some more revenue in there to be able to alleviate that and be able to, there's even a lot of people that are putting rinks, volunteers are putting up rinks on park property. They're doing it all on their own. Even we can reach out and give them a hand. Pretty well everybody has a well these days, if not 95%. It's costing them money. I think if there's any way that we can help out, that we should. That we get outside, find the outside, the better. The other thing, Your Worship, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge a couple of department staff in the Parks and Rec. As everyone is aware, it's very challenging to put any type of programming. It's very challenging to put any type of programming this year because of the restrictions imposed by COVID-19. But I do want to give a shout out to our programming staff, Christopher Drummond and Brianna McDonald, for working diligently together to find a way to continue to host the traditional Jingle Bells Walk event, which was held on November the 4th. So this was at risk of being canceled like so many other events, Your Worship. But Chris and Brianna stuck it out, and they found ways to host the event following the CPHO guidelines to make it safer for everyone to enjoy. So I do know storyboards with lights were installed, individually wrapped cookies were wrapped up, hot chocolate was given out. So there's one event that they went over the top to make sure that it happened. It looked like it was going to be canceled. And so I want to thank Christopher and Brianna for making it work. And I know there was other staff involved in setting up these storyboards and hooking up lights and so on for it. So, and they're still up there now. Yeah. But I think sometimes when staff goes over and above, I think they should be recognized, Your Worship. So congratulations and thank you to them.
Thank you, sir.
So, Your Worship, the minutes are in the package. If anybody has any questions, do best to answer them.
Just wanted to follow up with Brianna. She works with the Seniors Committee, and she does a great job with that group and does very well in collaborating and following what they want. So she's doing a great job, same as the whole department. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Councillor Tweel.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard, for your report. Very extensive, very informative. Last month, as you know, I asked a question regarding the boardwalk to the rear of 15 Haviland Street. There's many concerns and questions throughout the community regarding the relocation of the boardwalk and whether or not senior administration had renewed an easement regarding the boardwalk. I asked that question last month, and I'm wondering if you could give me a status report as to where the city of Charlottetown is with respect to that boardwalk, which is owned by the taxpayer, and if we've learned anything over the last 30 months with the anticipated construction of that facility, and what the impact and effect is on that boardwalk. And again, that is the rear of 15 Haviland Street. There's many questions and concerns throughout the community.
And I thought we answered that question for you last month, Councillor, did we not?
I didn't get an answer.
Okay, and I think it was Peter Kelly, I believe, that brought us up to speed on that. Peter, do you want to, or do you want to see if Frank has an update on that?
I'll deal with Frank first, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Frank?
Frank, you're there to unmute. Yep, you go ahead, please.
Taking a second for the mouse to work. Sorry for that. I guess the biggest thing is I'll defer to Peter Kelly in this matter, since it was him that spoke to it the last time, and I don't want to miss say what
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Mr. Kelly.
So, Your Worship, what has occurred with Mr. Banks, from what we understand, he is working with the province to has acquired access over the current just outside the current boardwalk, and we'll build that into his project.
Yeah, Councillor Tweel.
Do a follow-up?
Yeah, just follow up. Second question, and then Councillor Yankoff.
So, just follow Mr. Kelly. So, if you don't mind, please, if you could be a little more specific. So, building into the project, I'm assuming you're talking about some type of developer's agreement. Is the boardwalk going to be relocated, or is it going to stay in its current location? That's one of the many questions that are being asked by residents that utilize that boardwalk on a daily basis.
Again, from what I understand, it will vary a bit out towards the water side. I don't have the details right now. I do know that it is involved with the planning office as well as part of that discussion. I will get you an update, Councillor, because I don't have it right here at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. You got a couple of resolutions there. Councillor Yankoff.
We do have two resolutions.
Yep. Councillor Yankoff, you have a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up on what Councillor Schwil was discussing. Mr. Kelly, you talked about that from what you understand, and is there any timelines? Because as Councillor Schwil mentioned, there's a lot of residents and needing some answers and some clarification, and it just seems a little vague, and if there's, I mean, if it's the city's property, I would assume that we would have more answers from just assuming, like, if there's anything we could just add to just put some comfort with the residents.
So, Council, from what I understand, that the easement that was there was not renewed by CADC. There was an issue there, but I do know that they are in discussions with the planning folks in terms of making sure that the walk stays in place. It may be altered, but the boardwalk will be there. Again, I don't have the details. I will seek that answer for you and give it to all of council.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay. Yeah, and if I could just add to that, that's what I recall from the last time we talked, was that CADC actually owns the property. And so, as Peter said, there wasn't a renewal done, but there will be now. The boardwalk will be there. It's going to be moved out towards the water a little bit, but it will still be there for residents to use. That was always my understanding.
Councillor Tweedle, just one sec. I think we know that we have to get this information. So why don't we wait? Just let me finish. So why don't we wait for Mr. Kelly to get the information, documentation from CADC, and we can bring that up at one of our special committee meetings.
Okay, just a clarification.
Councillor McLeod first. Councillor McLeod?
Thank you. To get back, Councillor Bernard, your comment on the rinks. I'm really glad to hear that residents in Ward 2 were quite concerned, and I'm glad to see that you've in Parks and Rec have made that decision, because it's a very the ward is spread out quite a bit, and what happens in one end of the ward doesn't necessarily always coincide with the other end. So I was quite concerned and very pleased to hear this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Tweedle, can you just sum up?
Thank you, and that's why I said, I mean, one rink per ward is pretty slim pickings. And I know at one time, and the mayor will remember this, when we first got elected, they used to do 2. And that's all they could do. And now we're up to 10, 12. I do think if the resources are there and the need is there, I think we do need to look at the possibility of adding more, as long as we have the resources.
And Councillor Bernard, when we finished our first term there in 2001, 2003, we went from 2 to 7 or 8 in that first term. Yeah.
But we were told we couldn't.
Yeah, but Councillor Tweedle, can he just ask you one more question there, Mr. Councillor Bernard? Go ahead, Councillor Tweedle.
Sure.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. I think the CAO talked about CADC owning that property where the boardwalk is, but I believe it was the city of Charlottetown that provided the funding, along with the other 2 levels of government, for the boardwalk. So I'm not so sure how CADC enters this equation. That boardwalk is owned by the city of Charlottetown.
Just to clarify,
even if we do sidewalks on provincial property, I mean, we pay for the sidewalks, but it's provincial property. We get the permission from them.
Mr. Kelly?
This would be similar. But we'll get the information. We'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay, great.
Mr. Kelly, can you make sure you get something from Roman 8 in the background?
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Bernard, we have 2 resolutions. 2 good resolutions.
We do.
Good news. Good news.
Your
we
Worship,
think so, yeah.
Your Worship, the first one, moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Yankoff, that the new outdoor rink located at Jack Bomber Galligan Park be named the Gordy Griffin Multi-Sport Facility in recognition of his many years of commitment constructing an outdoor rink on his property for community use, Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor Bernard, you want to give some background?
I do, please. Thank you. Your Worship and members of the council, as Chair of Parks, Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee, I am honored to have this opportunity to announce the official naming of the first outdoor multi-use sports facility that the city has ever constructed. The new facility is located in Hillsborough Park and comes complete with boards, lights, asphalt base, benches, paved entry, exit for the ice resurfacing equipment, lots of protective mesh for safety. The facility measures 140 by 60 in size. This permanent facility will allow ice to be installed earlier in the season, last longer, and will be an excellent addition to the community, as it will provide our residents with outdoor enjoyment opportunities all year round. So, Your Worship, this new facility will be named the Gordy Griffin Multi-Sports Facility to recognize and honor the community contributions of Gordy Griffin, who has continues to have an indelible positive influence on this city and its youth. And that what you see on the screen is it's a sign to go up tomorrow in front of the outdoor rink. And Your Worship, in 1998, hoping to encourage youth to be outside more, have fun, enjoy the fresh air, and meet new friends, Gordy built a large outdoor rink on his property in Hillsborough Park, which provides a place for boys and girls to skate and play pickup hockey in the winter months. Gordy continued this tradition for not 1 or 2 years, but for 22 years. And it was always packed with kids playing for hours. And I've witnessed that myself. Because my kids spend a lot of time in the rink too. The time has come where Gordy can no longer provide the service, and I am pleased the city has stepped up to include that service and more for the many active residents in our community. So Gordy's contribution to fostering community spirit and volunteering to help others around him over the years, Gordy was awarded the Queen's Jubilee Commemorative Medal in 2002, the Citizen Recognition Award 2004, and the Parks and Recreation Department Volunteer Award in 2008. The city of Charlottetown is honored to take on the mantle of Gordy's effort to provide space for people of all ages to enjoy the outdoors. This is a rare opportunity for this legacy to not just continue, but to thrive and expand. The Gordy Griffin Multi-Sports Facility will not only be a rink in the winter, but will also offer space for outdoor activities for residents all year round. I know the facility will definitely be heavily used, and I look forward to seeing the children and adults enjoying the facility for years to come. Rare are the opportunities such as this, to plant the seed of legacy and to see it grow so quickly, Your Worship. I think this is truly a testament to Gordy's tireless generosity and his steadfast dedication to his community. While the plan was to unveil the new sign for the facility at City Hall tonight, which unfortunately is not possible due to the current restrictions, I look forward to the opportunity to welcome you all to the official opening, which will take place when it's deemed safe to do so in the new year. So, Your Worship, I'd like to thank everyone who made the Gordy Griffin Multi-Sports Facility a reality. And I'd like to start, Your Worship, with the former chair of Parks and Recreation Leisure Mitchell Tweel, Alana Yankoff, Kevin Ramsey, Doug Durand, Mike Duffy, Greg Rivard, Harry McLeod, Julie McCabe, and Jason Cody. It was a unanimous decision, and I do appreciate that immensely. I do, Your Worship, just want to give a shout out to the Parks and Recreation Manager Frank Quinn and his staff, Mike White and Dean Worth, for their oversight while this project was under construction. They did an excellent job. So, Your Worship, thank you, and thank Council. It means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Councilor Bernard. Thank you.
A lot of kids are pretty excited, so thank you very much.
And I'm sure Gordy, Christine, and all the girls will be very happy too. So it'll be a family party when we get together to unveil the new sign.
I'm sure it will.
It'll be a model, as Councillor Tweel said, a model for other opportunities in other wards. So, do we have a mover? Councillor Bernard, Councillor Yankoff, seconded. Any questions, concerns? Question called?
Question called.
Okay, question called. Okay, Councillor Tweel. Yay or nay? Just nod your head.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Councillor Duran.
Large favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Bernard, of course. Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Okay, 9-0. Want to go with the next resolution?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councilor Bernard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the City of Charlottetown approves a $50,000 in additional funds to be added to the 2020-2021 capital budget to undertake dredging at Andrews Pond, and that the City will partner with Wrights Creek Watershed Environmental Committee to engage the services of a contractor to complete this work in 2020, Your Worship.
Your Worship, a comment before you take it to a vote. I think a lot of the councillors are aware of this, but I just want to read this out. The pond, as everyone knows, is city-owned. This was the donation that John Andrews had made to the city of Charlottetown last year. It's been a great asset for the city of Charlottetown. There is a trail currently built around the pond with viewing platforms for the public with excellent view lines, and there's history boards basically on the history of the pond and the wildlife information with regards to this pond. There's also 2 docks for launching canoes and kayaks that's currently there. With this pond lowered, Your Worship, it was lowered for the bridge replacement for the new box culverts. Those box culverts have been installed. They are working. They did dig down below the seabed about 5 to 6 feet. A lot of the water that was left in the pond is drained out. It's never been this low in the history of the pond. So it provides the watershed group with an excellent opportunity to make improvements to the pond and make it even more user-friendly and environmental friendly. Taking some of the siltation out that they couldn't the last time they dredged because they had to put a berm down the middle to hold the water on one side while they dredged one side and then switch it over to the other side. So there's ample opportunity right now to be able to dredge the pond appropriately and make it even that much better for use for our residents and for make the much more environmentally not safe but environmentally appropriate. So right now, as I say, if anybody's driven by there lately, they'll see that it's right to the bottom. There's not much there. There's as I say, it's a great opportunity to be able to get it dredged properly and some of the stumps out of the way. So that's why the request is here.
Okay. And Councillor Bernard, I know the province has spoken to John Andrew and Darren Riggs, so I think we can get some cooperation there. So all the better with more partners, and it'll just bring more of an enhancement to that pond and the ecosystem that it feeds into. Thank you. Councillor Twill?
Yeah, just a clarification, Councillor Bernard, with respect to the involvement in the province and, of course, the good work that the watershed group has already done thus far. Was the province not already involved when you made the request for the 50,000?
You have to unmute, Councillor.
Unmute there, Councillor Bernard.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. But the province has been there. Actually, the province is overseeing the bridge replacement through their contractor. So this is not the first time that, obviously, you know that John Andrews and Darren Riggs and the Watershed Group have been working on this pond for over 10 years. They've dealt with the province multiple times on this. So this, as is seen, was an excellent opportunity to enhance the pond even further. So that, yeah, they have been in contact with some of the provincial reps that are responsible for the bridge culvert. And because they would be, those permits that are in place now to lower the pond as low as they have been, they'll be in talks with the province to extend that permit to have the pond stay lowered until further work could be done.
Yeah. Just a follow-up as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you mentioned Darren Riggs and John Andrews, if you go back over the last, say, 10 to 15 years, all the work that they've did was all volunteer-based.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It's all volunteer-based, and if you're to go out and take a walk behind the airport, like I did on one of my outings with Darren Riggs, it's just fantastic that the work they've done and done this on a volunteer basis, not looking for any remuneration or any compensation or any payment whatsoever. So to my mind, they've set the bar and they've done tremendous work. And I think, Councillor Bernard, someday we need to recognize Darren Riggs and John Andrews for the incredible work that they've done.
Thank you, Councillor.
I don't disagree, and you're right. they're the experts. They've been coming to the city for, like I say, approximately 10 years ago. We started to have the silt reduction coming from the airport and coming through, coming off Sherwood, the different entry points that the stream was emptying into the pond. Plus, it's a stormwater system for the city of Charlottetown, the water that comes from St. Peter's Road.
Yeah.
So, we, for our part, over the years, it's always money when you're trying to restore these ponds and these estuaries. It's always money. It never seems to have money. So the city of Charlottetown became a partner, probably 10 years ago, and we partnered with them, and that's where the different streams that were leading into the pond had to be created in a way that you slow down the siltation or stop the siltation. They were all rock lined properly. You'll see that especially up by the airport where you have heavy rains and it used to just tear through the stream that was there and all the mud and silt that came down into the pond. That's all rock lined now. So then when all that was looked after, then the dredging happened. And I believe the city was in that for approximately $100,000 at the time. So they have been the experts. They have been the ones that we've listened to. They put a plan together, and we've been in partnership with them. And as lately as the last 3 years, Ramona and the Environment and Committee has been partnering with them also. So it's been a good partnership, and it's been going on for a while. Yeah.
You have to unmute your worship.
And as said before, it'll be probably a partnership for quite a distance in the future.
And Councillor Bernard, you have to take some credit too, because you've been working hand in hand with the Watershed Group and through the different departments of the city. So thank you for your efforts. And I want to thank Frank for his warp speed in getting all this background together so that we can vote on it. Just a quick question. Capital over operational. This isn't a capital expense.
This is a capital expense, Your Worship.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So any other points? Okay. Question call.
The only thing I'd say, Your Worship, is it's an asset for all of Charlottetown, and the vision for this is to be able to see the residents come out and be able to put their canoes and kayaks and go fishing, and really, if anybody hasn't been out there for a walk around it, they probably should, because regardless of the time of year, it's a beautiful, peaceful walk through the trail system around the woods there.
And a new roundabout coming for Oakland Drive, a new pedestrian underpass. Man,
yes.
It'll be the place. It'll be the place you want to move to.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Okay. Question called? Yes. Okay. Mr. Kelly, can you read the resolution, or did you already read it?
We already did, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Yankoff.
In favor, absolutely.
Councillor Duffy.
You have to unmute Councillor Duffy.
Councillor Duffy? Yeah, keep it off.
In favor.
Councillor Duran? In favor. Councillor Tweel?
In favor.
Councillor Rivard?
In favor.
Councillor Bernard?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody?
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey?
In favor. We're all getting a little punch drunk here. We're going on so long.
Councillor McLeod, some big discussions tonight. Councillor McLeod?
Got the fish ready to go.
Good. Okay, 9-0.
Well, one other thing, Your Worship, I do want to first of all thank everyone. The other thing is I do want to wish everybody a happy and healthy and peaceful Merry Christmas. We are only a week and a half away, and so the well-earned relaxation time and time with the family. So from my family to yours, Merry Christmas.
Thank you and Merry Christmas. We'll be seeing each other.
No.
No, we're going to see you tomorrow there, Kevin.
I know.
Water and sewer.
Thank you, Worship. The Water and Sewer Utility Committee met on November 19th, 2020, and the minutes are included in your package. I have one resolution for your consideration today, and I can answer any questions that you may have. And I, like many members of council, wish everyone and their families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So if you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them as best I can, or refer them to Richard. Thank you.
Any questions? I think we have one resolution, Councillor
Yes, we do, Your Worship.
Durant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we want to read that, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Drawn, seconded by Councillor Twill, that City Council adopt the amendments related to the reporting mechanism for the Conditional Management Plan, CMP. The CMP is for the management of the shellfish harvesting in conditionally managed harvest areas adjacent to the water treatment plant and collection system located in Charlottetown.
Question called?
Question called.
Okay. Let's get my list here. Okay. Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor, Your Worship.
Councillor Twill, yea or nay?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Councillor Duffin.
In favor.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Terry Bernard.
In favor.
Councillor McLeod.
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
And Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Thank you. That's it, Councillor Duran?
Oh yeah, you don't want to ask me, do you?
I did not, Kevin. Sorry about that. I just assumed. Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Ramsey.
Oh, never mind then. In favor.
Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, next report is Public Works.
Thank you,
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Public Works and Urban Beautification met on December the 2nd. And the draft minutes are there. The City Board of Persons with Disabilities met on November 10th, and the draft minutes are in there as well. There's one resolution for your anticipation. And again, before we get into anything, just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. But before I do the Merry Christmas celebration, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I am eligible for Canada pension coming up here this week.
Okay, so you're 60 or 65, so take a guess. You want to draw it early? Good idea for an investment reason.
Oh no, he's as old as dirt.
If he's eligible, he's turning 60.
He's 60 plus. Okay.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Any questions?
Any questions for the Councillor Twill? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for the report, Councillor McLeod. Councillor McLeod, I think the City of Charlottetown has done a fantastic job with respect to Christmas decorations on the Houston Street, whether it's in the downtown or in through the residential areas. My question is, many residents across the city are asking, why are Christmas decorations not equally and fairly distributed throughout the city of Charlottetown? Now, for the last 2 or 3 years, I brought up the fact that our main entranceways into the city of Charlottetown should be decorated, and it'd be nice to have that festive spirit as you're commuting, whether you're walking, taking the transit, or driving in and out of the city. But that hasn't happened. I know this has been brought forward on many occasions. I can recall when Councillor Bernard was chair of Public Works, he said, well, are you willing to put more money into the budget? And Councillor Bernard, maybe you can help me. I think the City Council agreed at that time, the following year, to add another $75,000 for Christmas decorations. So, you know, it's great. The downtown's looking good in some of the residential neighborhoods in the downtown, but when you look at the city as a whole, the decorations are not distributed equally and fairly. So I'd like to know why that is, and maybe because this continues on year after year, maybe we should transfer that responsibility over to economic development and tourism and have someone come up with a decoration plan for the entire city, someone like Laurel Lee and some of her staff, and work with Public Works to decide or recommend where the decorations should be installed. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. This goes on year after year, and I'd be willing to work with you to see if, in fact, we can come up with a plan to have the entire city decorated, and not just primarily south of Houston.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Twill. Point well taken. I would like the opportunity to back to the committee and work with you as well to see if we're going to try spreading out the decorations. I agree with you 100%.
Thank you. Councilor Bernard.
Thank you, Worship. And I just wanted to add to that. So Councilor Trio was right. We put more money in the budget, but I just want to remind him that there was a lot of replacement decorations that had to be purchased. And you'll see downtown, there's a lot of new decorations. I know those wreaths weren't cheap, but I mean, as they decorated the downtown, and I do want to do a shout out here, Steve McFadden, I think, has been doing a fantastic job. I think the city's looking fantastic, but they have been moving the decorations out more. I mean, we're only talking a year, but there's been decorations being moved outside the city. I noticed you can go out by Peter Pan. You see the Christmas decorations there. I think they are moving. But the other thing is, I mean, staff obviously is making a lot of these decisions. The staff has to make decisions when they decide to put Christmas decorations out. Where do they get the best bang for them? So, and I think we've been doing a great job. And like I say, I'm recalling 25,000 extra in the budget. I do know that there was a lot of decorations that had to be replaced, that have just gotten old and had to be replaced. And so I know that was done. That took a fair chunk of the money. Every year, it's going to take a little bit more to get caught up, but they have been moving outside the city. I think the city looks great. I received some comments, because don't forget, the whole idea is to try and bring people downtown to shop.
Yeah.
That's where all of the commercial district is, but you want to move it outside, there's no question, but I think the focus starts off in downtown Charlottetown, and it does move out. And I think that they're doing a good job.
Okay, Councilor Twill, just want to wrap it up.
Yeah, I want to thank Councilor McLeod for being open to the idea of looking at the decorations being distributed equally and fairly. Councilor Bernard, I know that, in some of the suburban communities there is Christmas decorations like your ward. I haven't had a look myself, but I can tell you, University Avenue from Kirkwood Drive down to Euston Street, there's not one Christmas bulb. Longworth Avenue, Queen Street, North River Road. Those are just some examples. Kensington Road. I mean, I think we need a plan, and I think we need to include economic development and tourism along with public works. I'm willing to sit down with the chair of public works and start working on that today.
Thank you. And Councillor McLeod, I know you didn't get to the parade, or Councillor Twill, but I went to the 5 parades. Unbelievable. The neighborhoods, you go out to Hillsborough Park, East Royalty, West Royalty, through Ward 8, Ward 7. The homes are just lit up that really are shining throughout the city. So, yes, we have a responsibility, but if we promote it amongst our residents, I think that's a big plus for all of us. And I will tell you that the music that is coming from the Bell Tower downtown is getting a very positive response. So I think, as Councillor Twill said, we'll get together with you, your committee, and move forward.
Yep, sure. Yep.
Do you have a resolution?
I do.
You want Mr. Kelly to read it?
If there's no other questions, yep.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Duffy, that as per the conditions of the request for quotations on temporary street barriers, the submission of bird stairs in the amount of $62,890 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, Your Worship.
Okay. Question? Okay, question called. Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
In favor.
Councillor Duran. In favor. Councillor Twill.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
Yep.
Councillor Ramsey. You're muted, Councillor Ramsey. Nod your head.
In favor, and I'm hungry.
Councillor McLeod. Councillor Bernard.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Cody.
In favor.
Okay, 9-0. Last report is Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. As you will recall from the beginning of the meeting, we did remove the resolution from the agenda for your consideration. And just to echo what Councillor I believe it was Councillor Tweel was concerned about, as well as Councillor Rivard. We will come back to our agenda in the new year and discuss the terms of reference for the Council Committee. And I just wanted to wish everybody a merry everything and a happy always. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Are you ordering supper?
I have one question, Your Worship.
Oops.
You're muted.
Question? Any questions?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, sir.
I asked Councillor McLeod for the last number of months about any reduction in committees, and I'll refer to the new chair. Has there been any discussion on those committees being reduced, or the amount of councillors that sit on each committee? That's a question I've been asking, and I'd like to get an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ron, and I appreciate your question. I will add that as the second agenda item for our next meeting, and come back to our next meeting of council with a proper answer for if that's suitable for you.
That's true.
Councillor Ron, good.
Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you, Councillor Yankoff, and I hope Steve caught the ball and he's having a lot of fun now. Any other business? And listen, I just want to say Merry Christmas, and I got a little music here by the boss. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, but I'll see you around.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
In favor.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
With a nice little Christmas for my